I had a price on my head by the FBI. I was running out of money. I was at the end of my rope. And then they recruited me and said, you know, with a mouth like yours, there's a place for you in our organization. And you know, I've worked in deep background positions about which the less said, the better. And then, you know, about 15 years ago, they shifted me into public relations, and I've been there to the present.
Hi guys, so this is my 6th attempt at recording this presentation or streaming it. I do want to clear some things up real quick before I get into it. I didn't get striked or swatted or anything like that, and I do appreciate the support from you guys, thank you. What my issue is I'm using it. Maybe they'll censor you for good and use Alex Jones as an excuse. Maybe that's what their game plan is. I don't really know. These are sophisticated psychological warfare operations, in my opinion, and Alex is as well. And I've done research on that and videos on that. And I think he's a mind war operation where one of the core concepts of mind war is weaponizing truth. So taking a lot of truthful information and using it as a weapon to also mix in disinformation and lead people in the wrong direction. Look at the similarities between Terrence and Rogan. There's a lot of parallels there. So as you've exposed all the intel connections with Terrence and what his operation was, compare him to Rogan and look at the similarities between the two, because it's almost like Rogan stepped into that position in a new modern way, but it's very similar. But Rogan can sit up there on his podcast and take illegal substances like mushrooms on camera, and that's fine, you know. And then a kid sees that and they want to take mushrooms. They think it's just a normal thing to do, and they think it's not a massive experience that you know, is something to prepare for. You know, that isn't something to take lightly, like you just take it, you know, like Rogan portrays. So why isn't his podcast censored? He has been so influential. I'm in the Midwest, but I think all over the country, you see trends originate out of his podcast, and he literally bombards people's subconscious. And you're having a conversation, you know, with someone my age, and they'll just reference something off Joe Rogan's podcast or just repeat it word for word. And it's like, you're literally drawing from the database that Rogan's giving you, you know, that 95% of where your thought process takes place in your subconscious. So, I mean, just him creating the culture and actively influencing everybody around me, it's such an important deception for me to highlight, in my opinion. And then I fell into your work and started seeing all these MK Ultra connections and the whole history behind it and the direction it's moving in the future. So it definitely was a big deception. The history of MK Ultra, and reference it and put it in reference with what Rogan is doing now and with what this modern MK Ultra movement's doing, because understanding the history allows you to understand which direction this modern movement's going in. And the fact that they've been, like you said, they've been doing this since the 50s. It's a continuation of these same mind control, cultural shifting operations.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conspiracy Playtime Podcast, where it's a safe space to talk about wild ideas that might get you or me canceled or raided by the FBI, CIA, and other three-letter agencies. Today, we're talking with Brandy, and we're going to be talking about how maybe MKUltra never really got discontinued and how some agents might be out there playing the field as we speak. So welcome, Brandy, to the Conspiracy Playtime Podcast, and looking forward to getting into the rabbit hole of some maybe modern names that we might recognize and maybe we might get this show canceled. So you may want to download this one, folks, because it might go away really quickly.
Brandy, number 3 appearance. Welcome back. I guess I'll start by saying that you and I, last April, so over a year ago now, we recorded an episode together where you talked about the very apparent systematic infiltration of the fringe groups. And we're not just talking like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan. We're talking about small names that have maybe less than a few 100,000 followers even. People that we've all probably talked to. But when we were recording that, we briefly brought up Matthew North and talked about how it's kind of a hot potato issue, kind of just gets bounced around. No one's really ever dove into it. People have kind of skirted it. That was in April of last year. And since then, and I think we even said, or I said, is this something you really want to cover? Is this something you really want to talk about? And you kind of said, I don't know. I could even clip that and just put it in here. And now you've gone on some decent sized platforms and talked all about him and other implications. We're going to dive into all of it. So welcome back. And why don't you just start out by kind of laying the groundwork for who Matthew North was / is and what he was doing.
He was, I guess, like a little, I don't want to call him a little kid, but out of Michigan. And he's pretty much, he was on the level of just like how me, you, and everybody else is. You know, we got our theories. He decided to start putting them out. But then he got involved with like Jan Irvin and a couple of other people.
Is it Jan or Jan?
I'm going to call him Jan just because he's a bitch. But
he calls himself Jan, though, right?
He calls himself Jan like he's a bore, and he really is. But he is smart as shit, in which, you know, if you're going to be an agent and fuck everybody over, I guess you got to have an element about you.
I do want to bring him back when we get into Joe Rogan, so if I forget to, remind me.
So, Matthew, you could tell, like, right off, wasn't your ordinary just a theory. He dug in, and I have some of his notes that he had posted where he was going in on Trump and some other stuff, and I went ahead and you couldn't download them, so I had to like copy and paste this crap and then make it a PDF file so other people can have it, and which I gave you that in my Dropbox stuff. But he was getting in there. So when he started dissecting the hell out of people and everybody started seeing that he kind of dug deep and he wasn't leaving anybody out of it, he started getting, you know, feedback from Sam. He didn't get direct feedback from Rogan, but they would end up bringing up topics.
Hey, Sam Tripoli?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Sam Tripoli, like, he said some ungodly shit to him. He, you know, and there was like some comments from other people who were just tweeting stuff and was like, Sam had even made fun of him and said some nasty shit even after they said he was dead. And I was like, really, dude? That's a little bit, but you know.
Okay,
it's
so
Sam.
you just got to the punchline. He's maybe dead.
He may be dead. Yes.
Why is he maybe dead? What was he uncovering? You said he was diving deep into certain things. So what was it?
Well, he was not letting go of how all these people had connections, and, you know, even though they would come up and bring up certain topics, the reason why they were bringing them up is, one, just for the appeal of it, to make you think, just put down your defenses, to make you think, oh, well, you know, we're just like you, we're questioning the system. And he's like, yeah, but you are the system, because you have these sponsors right here, and these sponsors right here are connected to some very wealthy people and some very wealthy 3-letter agency programs, and you're bringing these people who have known affiliation with them and are a part of them, in which we already know, like, Rogan will bring on some so-called ex-CIA people call them ex-CIA when we know good and damn well there is no such thing as ex-CIA.
So you're talking about Mike Baker, who just made like his fucking 12th appearance on there or something. Is that one? Is that, or are you talking about a lot of them?
A lot of them.
He's the one that comes to mind because to me, he never explains how and why they know each other. I've never heard it. Maybe he did on the first appearance, but that guy, you know who he is? I think he lives in Idaho. He's got like 3 kids. He always talks about Scooter, Buck, and it's like he is like a 1950s caricature of a man. Yeah. He's like fucking the guy on that other Family Guy show, American Dad. He reminds me of that guy. Like, that's who he is. And they just sit there and talk about manly shit and get conservative on all the political issues. But he's been on there so many times. He was on there 2 weeks ago. But now Joe's getting into these DOE people and all the military intelligence with the UAPs and all that. I mean, he's kind of always been there. We're getting kind of sidelined here, but I did, while you were talking, I just pulled up this thing you were talking about with Trump. This is written in 2019.
Yeah, those are Matthew North's notes. Those are his notes, stuff that he wrote down and he looked up. Those are his links, all of it. Which is some good, you know, he left it out there. He was like, if y'all want to go through my notes, you want to take it off from here, you want to go down these rabbit holes, you can take them.
So this is even bigger than like exposing Joe Rogan or the modern psychedelic movement, which he seemed to have called out before a lot of other people.
Yeah, he was in on exposing Zionist links and such, and I think too that kind of got him involved with some people. But you could start seeing the more people he got associated with, he started pulling back because he started questioning who were really his friends, who he could trust. You could see he kind of seemed paranoid about it, so he started pulling back, and he would disappear, and he would start just posting stuff on his own. The only thing that's weird is, you know, they said that he had committed suicide, and they were like, you know, I asked Jesse. He said it was.
So Jesse is a friend of his that he used to work with.
Yes, Jesse Spots. So, and don't anyone put out there like, oh, Jesse knows about who killed him, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't torment the man about that, even if that is your speculation. I mean, you know, at some point, if your friend dies, you don't want to relive that experience over and over again. So even if you think he did, just, you know, just leave the dude alone.
He's contacted you, though, when you've said things, so I think he's kind of put himself into the fair game category.
He did I don't think he was specifically pointing me out when he took that screenshot of the conversation and put it up there, because I mean, you know, I don't care. It was 3 a.m. I seen it, and I was like, I'm awake enough to be like, hey, dude, that was not me. I didn't say no shit like that, because that wasn't where I was going with it. But yeah, there are people I know who's like, nah, I think.
So just for people who don't know a lot about what you're talking about, which is going to be most people, you were trying to expose some of this, you know, the ties that you can make with Matthew North.
Yeah.
Current day, and this guy.
Well,
I don't know if he felt like you were edging into some dangerous territory or what.
Yeah. I was just questioning, it really wasn't even just him specifically. What I thought was weird is like, everybody's like, oh, okay, he's dead, but nobody said anything until like after the fact, right?
Well, okay, let's get into his death, because he stopped posting in 2021. Is that the year, or am I way off on that?
No, it was 2020.
2020. His internet presence disappears.
Yes.
And why did people start speculating that he had committed suicide? What did that have legs, or was that just like?
Well, they said that they had found. Well, this is what it was. There was things that had came out, and it was like Jesse and them or whatever. They was like, hey, his brother told us that he was dead, that he had committed suicide, and here's the death. The autopsy report or the incident report from the coroner. The only thing is I don't think anybody like actually ordered it, but as we know, you can get an incident report from a coroner if they're paid off, you know, because people get fake death certificates all the time. So, you know, it's not unheard of. Is it for him? I don't know. It depends on how deep he honestly got. Did he need to be put into hiding? It's possible. But it just seemed weird that you have him supposedly committing suicide, but nobody knew about it. Like, his friends didn't know until like a month later or so. Like, you're his friends. And then I looked on his brother's Twitter, and there's not one damn tweet saying, oh, dude, I'm sorry about your brother. Condolences for this, that, and the other. Then you go on Matthew Norris YouTube. All of his videos, gone. His community posts, they're still there. Videos, gone. Then you go to look him up, just a random search. You don't get anything about him. You try to look up his death, you're not going to find anything about it. So it's like, why is there not? Even in his hometown, even at the high school, you don't have a memoriam set up. Nobody mentions it in the town. It's like, well...
So these are just conspiracy theorists online saying this, that he's dead?
Yes.
Because he just stopped listening and just well, the internet trail just kind of disappeared, and then jumping to the conclusion that he's gone.
What's to say that he's not even hiding from the fucking people he supposedly was exposing, but he's hiding from people like us, and that he doesn't want to be exposed for being this guy trying to take down Joe Rogan and the Esalen Institute and all that stuff? So is that possible in your mind?
It is, because he did have another channel where he wanted to get more into the antediluvian. And those videos are still there. They're not his, really. They're just a collection of his.
So he was into like ancient religious stuff too, then?
Yeah. And I think he wanted to get more into that part because he was getting harassed over the Tripoli and Rogan stuff. Or, you know, he may have just gotten to a point where he's like, hey, I've done enough of the legwork. Nobody's listening to me. Everybody's just making me try to seem like I'm trying to take down people. I'm just trying to educate y'all. So, you know, fuck you. I'm going over here. It's a valid feeling.
Okay. So I kind of I have a very limited amount of knowledge compared to you, but I think that's most likely because had he not, like you said, it would be easy to find out if this guy's dead or not.
You would think, yeah.
Checking his hometown, obituaries, all that stuff. I mean, is Matthew North his real name, or is that like his thing? Okay, so
you're not his real name.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's not his real name.
Oopsies.
Okay, I want to just before we move on from Matthew and into some of the work he was doing and where you've kind of taken off from there, I'd like to just give the listeners and viewers a taste of what he was doing. So you have 3 video.
I think it's just 3.
What's this?
Yeah,
should I decline cookies?
Or whatever.
Okay, so you've got
5
videos. I also, Brandy, if it's easy, but we can do it from here. I did give you permission to share. If you want to do that, but I can pull up whatever video you want to. So I just want to give this one here I pulled up is 55 seconds long, and it's the one that's got his face in the thumbnail. Is that a good one to play?
Oh yeah, you can play that. Like, all of them are relative.
Let me get into some of the prostitutes surrounding Alex. Like we've talked about with Charlie Sheen and Amanda Bruce, that's how they met each other. And there's a good chance Millie Weaver, this isn't something that's talked about too much, was an escort herself, like Alex Jones's current wife was. Verified on Sugar Nights, that was her. Traveled all over the world. Was most likely a CIA asset, in my opinion. But Millie Weaver was an insta-hooker type of deal where she was through a website called Model Mayhem and part of something called the Hollywood Girls Club.
Yeah,
but this
like
Model
a sorority,
Mayhem,
like a YouTube sorority that looked like a total front for something else in Hollywood, which we know goes on.
How are they making their money? Because it's very expensive to live there, and they weren't getting any gigs. So they were making their money somehow. And if you look at Model May.
What are some of these? Well, I was going to say that gives you a little bit of insight of.
He's calling Alex Jones' wife a hooker.
Well, she was.
She was his current wife or his first one?
I think both of them.
I mean, it's Alex Jones. Are we surprised?
I mean, right, but then you got Millie Weaver too. So Millie Weaver's on his staff. So how many of these girls are, you know, fur for hire just to get information?
Who did he start talking about first?
Millie Weaver.
Between Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, where did he go from there? Like, is he talking about Alex Jones early on, or did that?
I think it started with Alex Jones and the Bill Hicks situation.
Oh, he talked about that in particular because I have been.
Oh yeah, like Matthew was like, no, that man is Bill Hicks, and that's it. And you can tell because every time anybody brings it up on his show, like other people say it too, and he was like, if they didn't have any suspicion or anything, why would they always bring it up? Like every time they come around him.
I was recording with John Gusty and Ryan Dean, and he had mentioned it the first time he was on Conspiracy Playtime. This John Gusty guy, fucking, if you haven't seen those episodes, they're killer. This guy's nuts. I love him. But he's like telling me he's been in the music industry for years, and he's telling me that he saw body doubles and people playing multiple characters. Like, an actor is both this singer and this singer. And he's like, you would not fucking believe it. And then he told me he believed that Bill Hicks faked his death to become Alex Jones. And we found a video in the early Alex Jones years, and it's fucking Bill Hicks. He hasn't quite made the transition yet. And after I saw that, I was convinced. And this was in 99. So this would have been, I want to say 5 years after Bill Hicks supposedly died. And then they showed the real Alex Jones. There was a guy named Alex Jones, and he was a reporter in Austin, Texas. They kind of look alike. They don't have the same teeth or anything. I think it's Bill Hicks. Anyway, so he was saying that. Matthew.
Yeah, he was saying that. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I wonder if our local conspiracy radio show guy, what's his name?
Jeff Rentz.
Yeah, because Jeff Rentz sued Alex Jones, right?
Yeah, because Alex Jones sued Jeff Rentz because Jeff Rentz said that Alex Jones had Bill Cooper murdered. Yeah.
This is a huge lawsuit.
Huge lawsuit. This is like way before lawsuits were a thing, like in the conspiracy world. Now they just happen all the time. So anyway, that'd be a good lead to look into. Have we ever reached out to him?
No, because he kind of slowly also kind of just left the scene a little bit.
During COVID.
Yeah. He was trying to sell his website right before COVID happened.
Yeah.
And he had some articles on his website about, this crazy China virus going on. This was like January, February. And he was looking to sell just his website presence and just do the radio show, but he was mainly looking to step out because he's like, shit's about to get really crazy. I'm like ready to be done with this and like basically retire. And he recently sold his house here in the area too.
I used to do yard work for this motherfucker. When I first moved here, I didn't know who he was, but I should have, because I listened to Coast AM, and he's like, that show sucks. You should listen to mine. And I was like, oh, he's kind of cool. He's got this. He's eccentric. He looks like a TV hypnotist. He's got long white hair and a black mustache. Damn. And he owned a local tanning salon, and he always used it. So he's got like Trump skin. Salon. Anyway, another tangent, but it's all relevant.
It is, because he backed away too. He took that same path. He runs in with Alex Jones. He didn't run in with Rogan.
Years and years ago, but it is I think it's noteworthy.
Yeah, because I think that he pretty much stopped posting, because he used to do his radio show every week, and he would live stream it on YouTube also. But I think also YouTube just hit him so hard that he wasn't able to post really anything anymore.
Or monetize shit.
Yeah. So he might still be doing the radio show. I don't know. I needed to dig into it and see, because I'd be curious what digging he'd be
a good someone to reach out to. He could have an in-studio guest.
He might have moved.
Sit and recline. Nah, he's got a bunker fucking by Immigrant Lake.
Nah, I think he went down fucking south.
You're going to have to link it. You're going to have to put that link in there.
Friendly mountaintop.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Brandy. So we're talking Alex Jones. He starts getting into. He goes on Jan Irving's show at one point and tells Jan that Joe Rogan and the Terrence McKenna connection and all that stuff. I heard him talk about that for like. Oh, it was a pretty lengthy interview, and they talked about.
Oh yeah, they are, and I think maybe that's too where. I think Jan started going over to Matthew. I don't think that Matthew reached out to Jan, because he was going on to the Rogan thing, like figuring his out and, you know, his connections. And I think Jan was like, hey, I used to be on there. He blackballed me, so I'm going to play counter intel now, and we're going to go after him. And because I've been so close to him and I'm the one that gave him whatever said drugs, you know, we're going to go over to him next. So I think that's why he kind of like really dug into him. And say these are like all the different, I mean, they're crazy. Like all the different posts of.
Oh, there's that guy you were talking about right there, Jesse Spots.
Right, of like when Matthew supposedly was put out there about his suicide. Some of the, like even down there, the autopsy report. Like I got the autopsy report. I looked at it because one of my friends, the Theorizing Theorist, he had gotten it from some random person on Twitter that it was just all too convenient. That all of a sudden this person was like, oh, I got it right here. How the fuck did you get it? And then I asked him, I was like, did you ever verify who this person was or where they got it from? And he was like, nah, he didn't dig too much into Matthew. He actually is still in lawsuits. You know, is it an open secret? I think it is. He's getting sued by the guy who made that movie.
Who is?
An open secret. My friend, his name is Julio.
He's getting sued for saying that movie was bullshit or something?
Oh, he's getting sued because he said that dude had, God, what's his face killed. It's fucked up.
It's just like Rince and Jones.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah,
that's
the only
weird,
person
though.
that can get death certificates is like next of kin, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is just supposedly an incident report written by the coroner, and you know it's not too detailed. It doesn't have like the body, you know, the outline of this, that, and the other. It's just pretty much like, oh, this person was found this day. And what also is weird, he was reported missing by his brother, not his parents, his brother. So again, it's like, well, where's the parents? And it looks like through the research that his mom actually worked at the damn school. So I don't know. It's just weird. It's just all weird. And even when I put just this stuff on TikTok, there was no words, didn't say anything. It was just, hey, Matthew North, here's this. I got a strike violation.
You did?
I did. And it was like, it was saying it had something to do with, like sex or sexual innuendo or something. I was like, where? Are you kidding me? This is bullshit. So I won.
Do they have an algorithm? This is a screenshot, correct?
Yeah.
So they can scan over what you've said here?
Well, none of it has anything to do with sex. So that's what I thought was weird. So
who is this? He's talking to Jan. Who's this other guy here in the bottom, the chubby dude?
That's Jesse Spots.
Oh, that's him. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Jesse. You look like you've slimmed up a bit.
And they even told me they weren't going to put it on my For You page and all this other stuff. And there's Roger Stone, which, you know, we know a couple people in the smaller podcast, whatever community, that just suck his dick all day.
Yeah, he's been on some lately.
Mm-hmm. He's a disgusting piece of shit.
Doesn't he have a Nixon tramp stamp? Oh, no, it's big. It's like the angel wing spot on his back.
God, that's gross.
Wait, what? And he found a bug in his house? Matthew North?
Supposedly.
So this is him claiming that.
Yeah, it's him claiming that.
It's a very blurry picture.
Yeah, that's what they were like.
A janky marijuana pipe with a little bolt emptied out.
It almost looks too big. But I guess 4 years ago, this would have been what?
Where's the scale though? I mean, is this a countertop? Maybe that's why it's blurry, is because it's so small.
And so somebody on Twitter, Argoyle, is reporting that he turned up suspiciously dead in his car in September with a gun and generic note. Is that kind of where the story started, or who do you know who started the story of his passing?
I think it was I want to say it was Adam Green, but
the guy who we just showed a clip of him on Adam Green's show.
Yeah, but
so they were they were friends.
Yeah, but then he started growing suspicious of him as well. So, and he's
not a small guy.
Yeah, no, there's emails to Jesse, and Jesse released them, of Matthew kind of backing up, expressing his concern that he thinks that maybe he's not as legit as he says he is. But even on the community posts that they've left up on Matthew North's page on YouTube, like there are people in there saying, oh, well, his brother had came on and started telling people on that channel, and that's how they found out. But again, none of that's on there to even know if that's true, and nobody has any screenshots either. So it's all like a speculation at this point of where and who the information actually came from. This is the Wayback Machine. This is what's funny too. So when you search for his page, you don't get any hits until after he's dead, like 2 years after he's dead. You don't get anything.
So it took him a while to start saying this.
And then you see how
somebody's saying, can't believe anything Adam Green says. So
wait, well, what? Throwback to when I was hired to work as a crisis actor for the 9/11 bio attack. Never showed up, did a Chicago IRL 9/11 stream instead. Really wish I had the funds, time for hidden camera, etc. to expose how these operations work. So wait, so Matthew North claims that he was hired as a crisis actor?
Yeah,
and this is something that I have heard other kids in this area of the Midwest say. I was talking to this guy who's a really big fan of Conspiracy Playtime. He fucking comments every time we put an episode out. He's been with us since the beginning, and he doesn't want to come on. I'm trying to get him to, but he told me a story, and I'm not going to say your name, dude, so don't get mad at me for saying this, because I know you didn't want me to say it. But they would do these drills where they would get the kids all bloody, and it was like a little drama group, and I'm probably butchering this a little bit, but it was like a group of 3 or 4, maybe more, selected, and they would just disappear for this last part of the day at school. And then one day they just came in and all covered in blood and just walked down the aisles touching all the kids. And I want to say, I could be wrong about this, is a private Catholic school.
Oh God.
So anyway, I hear shit like this, and he's saying that it was an alternative to the actual real attack. It was a bio attack in Chicago. Was he in the Chicago area? Is this where he lived?
He was close by because he was in Michigan.
Okay, they're very close.
But I mean, how did he get on this list to get hired? So it says your application for. So did he apply for this?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, well, you know how everybody posts, Craigslist is doing another thing for crisis actors. I mean, it could have been that it was a Craigslist thing, or he could have known how to get a hold of whoever to do that.
As a casualty role player.
So this was did he say when this was?
Well,
is there a date on
it? No, it doesn't say.
He said it. He said this for you.
2018.
He said this for you. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. That didn't add up. I thought he was saying that this was 2001. He would have been a fucking baby.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, this could be anything, right? It sounds like he was trying to stir up the pot a lot.
Or he may have just been like leaving some clues behind, like, hey, you know, I can be a crisis actor.
Honestly, if I want to go deep, here's some fucking Sam Tripoli stuff. Matt, you're full of shit, bro. Anytime you want to come on my show. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Sam being Sam.
Is this Twitter or Instagram?
Like YouTube comments. So.
YouTube comments. Doors wide open. Dude, you know what's funny is Sam's Booker did this same thing to me. He invited me to come on his show and talk about. And I said, sure. What day? And then he just starts fucking talking shit and blocked me. But I was just sticking up for Chris. Rantcast. Shout out. I'm wearing his shirt today. That motherfucker was going hard, and Mark Steves stepped in and said some shit about all you fucking wannabes, like, you know, you're talking shit from your small shows nobody listens to. And I just said, hey man,
it's so fucked up.
You don't have to be Sam Tripoli's lieutenant and their fucking mafia you got going on. And then he DM'd me. He said, you want to come on my show and talk about these accusations? I said, anytime. I'd love to. Can I swap it? Can we put it on my feed too? I was like, yeah, let's do this. Because I fucking have the proof. There's people who have kept their fucking messages from that cruise. So Sam Tripoli is publicly beefing with North over some of his claims. Well, that's interesting. I mean, if you're just, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's a lot. But if you're just listening to this, this could possibly be an episode where you want to just check out some of the slides that Brandy's sent over. And I think it'll be about twice the information you're going to get if you're just listening.
So, would you say that the things that got Matthew North in the hottest water would be the Alex Jones, Sam Tripoli, Joe Rogan? Would those be the things that seem to be the hot buttons that kind of got his next over his head?
Because he was actually even implying that Alex Jones is like Jewish intel.
I mean, that wouldn't even be surprising at this point.
It wouldn't, not now, but I guess then it was just like, hey, you know.
No, back then it was even more apparent, but because he's always been a Zionist shill, but he kind of like has done a 180 on that. In this most recent skirmish in the Mideast, he's kind of taken the, you know, it's a genocide against the Palestinians. I've heard him talking about that. Am I wrong about that? Have you kept up on that, Brandy? No?
No.
Right. Well, let's just speculate. I don't know if that's true. I'm pretty fucking sure that's what I heard. I listen to so much, I get it all mixed up, but I'll look and edit this out if I'm wrong. So he's got this. What is this? Is this Instagram?
No, I think it's YouTube community.
Yeah, so it's YouTube.
Okay.
So he says, I'd be willing to bet we're going to see a lot more of this, particularly in the U.S., not just politicians, but media as well. And it's a screenshot of him sharing an article. Sebastian Cruz, Australian councillor, ousted by MPs after video row. The woman is posing as a Russian oligarch's niece. Do you know what's the story with this?
So he's just into all sorts of shit.
He is. He was not dumb at all. Everything he did, he made great notes for. He had articles, he had videos, he had references, all of it. He never just said something without there not being a backup to prove what he had said either occurred, happened, or was going to happen.
Well, let's acknowledge right now that if we're willing to go deep into this and say that he's exposing things, he could himself be a giant psyop.
Well, that's why I figured, like, the crisis actor, like, he could have been like, hey, I'm just putting this out there. It's in your face.
at least double, like gone rogue. But
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of this to look at.
That right there is the death report.
I don't know how long you have. How long do you have?
I'm good.
How long do you have, Brandy?
I got a free day. I'm
all
off.
right. Well, let's just go through all of it then, because I want to get into where you've taken over from where his trails of research ended. You've verified a lot of what he said, and you've like gone deeper into a lot of this, and I definitely want to make that the focal point of the show. So this is the how far down are we? About halfway. Okay, I'll let you. You're better at this than me. And I feel like I'm reaching across.
No, so this is the coroner's report that was circulating around Twitter.
Yeah, and that's all there was, is that right there. That's it.
Okay. Which shows investigation, conclusion, gunshot wound to the head, found dead in car with apparent gunshot wound to the head and firearm in right hand. Had been reported missing by brother, departure style note found at vehicle, right templar lobe. So not too much. Wait. Okay. Blood and urine negative for tested substances. But it says just here. It says gunshot wound to the head. It doesn't say self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Well, he wouldn't have killed himself.
Right. Well, and it's like, okay, so he shot himself in the head and his body held onto the gun.
Can we get, since we're on this topic of the gunshot wounds and this fake suicide, maybe real suicide, maybe nothing. Because I know this was public and I know Nick has talked about it. What did Sam Tripoli say to Nick in an open chat? Do you know this?
About this?
Yeah, he told Nick. I know he talked about it on the panel you were on the Deep Share. Shout out, boys. Anyway, that Sam said to Nick, you keep going on like this, you're going to become real unhappy, just like Matthew North. And like the swarm was fucking cheering Sam on for saying that.
Yeah, and that was more too of...
It's when Nick had his beef with the tinfoil hat crew.
Well, even Andy had been getting some stuff with, which is so... This is what's fucked up, but I'm glad that they went after them because I'm not hearing the shit. So, like stuff Andy would post, obviously me and Andy were going in on this, and I was like, hey, this, that, and the other. And so, Andy was pretty much just like either replying to stuff that I had posted or bringing up the points that I had given him and everything. And he was getting shit from, Mark in his DMs being like, you need to back up, you need to, hold off and blah, 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 blah.
Is this okay to have in the episode?
Oh, yeah, because Andy put it out there. It's on his Twitter. Yeah, Andy, that he was like, hey.
Sure, but he had a panel with her where they first were talking about all this. So Andy went on Sam's show and talked about the box saga. Am I wrong about that? I think.
No, yeah, he did. Yeah,
I don't think I've listened to it, but I want to. And that wasn't long ago.
Yeah.
Like that. And so when did this fall in line? Was this after the appearance?
Yeah, this was like recent, like while we were doing all this stuff. And like I sent Andy last summer the stuff about Matthew North because I was like, hey, this goes into all the stuff that we've been talking about and how people are not exactly, these smaller podcasters are not exactly what everybody's thinking. And then you got Matthew North, and I was like, hey, I know you're going to find all this stuff interesting, but before you even say like, oh God, let's get a hold of this dude, he's dead. He was like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, he's dead. And so when Andy started bringing this stuff up, that's when he started getting stuff from Mark being like, yo, man, you might just want to back up, calm down.
Sam Tripoli's booker.
And so Andy put it out there like, I'm not backing off and I'm not calming the fuck down. You can either get out of my DMs or, I can post them. So I think he backed off at that point.
So Matthew North is his online screen name. Before this coroner's report came out, did anybody know his real name?
I think a couple people did. It wasn't widely known, though.
Okay. I just found it interesting because it says the remains are 69 inches long and weigh 160 pounds. So that puts him like at about 5'8", 5'10". I didn't do the exact calculations, but shy of.
So he's either my height or your height.
Right, and it says and weighs 160, and he looks like as scrawny as I do in the videos. Like 160 seems a little heavy for what we were seeing in the video footage. Obviously, don't know what his weight was, but
I had brought that up too. Like because he was a swimmer. That's what he did at school. Like he was on the high school swim team.
Was he? Maybe he's disappeared because he got a sex change operation and he's swimming in women's collegiate now.
Oh God, right? He's playing hide the package.
Yeah, I found that odd because, like, for reference, I'm 5'10" and weigh 145, and like I have to work to do that. So a swimmer is going to be lean as can be. Like they're not going to be carrying around any extra. I mean, obviously he's graduated at this point. He's 23 years old. Was he going to college or anything like that? Do we know what his was his full-time gig doing videos or living at home? Like what was his?
Yeah, he was just doing the videos.
Did he have a Patreon or anything like that or?
No, he didn't.
He didn't make money from this.
He wasn't even able to get monetized on YouTube.
Well, I'm not. I mean, you said that you just got kicked off for showing his shit of TikTok, which.
Yeah, it was just this. That was it. Just scrolling through that.
TikTok
and they were like,
is the fucking house for shit like this.
I did make sure to circle that, like right above that. He put it out there on there. He is alone and he is unafraid. So, I mean, he was letting people know he's not shutting up. But
he was maybe committing suicide vicariously.
So what's this video? Is this one of the only videos that's on his channel right now?
Well, that is on Alt Censored. That's where a lot of them are, where you have to go. Because he spread them out over other channels, but Alt Censored seems to be the one that has the most of his videos.
You know, his whole thing with Zionism and like he's got some pretty raunchy Bibi Netanyahu quotes in some of the top slides you showed. Man, his voice right now could be used because it's all coming to fruition there with the Israeli shit.
Yeah, I mean, so this is on one of his YouTube posts, and quote, on the 50th anniversary of the Israeli attack on the USS Liberty, where 34 seamen were killed and 171 wounded, we get footage of a bunch of drunken dykes. Very cool, very sad. Quote, if Americans ever knew what Israeli has done, they'd be scrubbed off the earth, unquote, Dr. Alan Sabrowski of the U.S. Army War College. Never forget those brave men who died at the hands of Israeli deception, and pray for those who are still begging for justice and recognition to this day. Keep owning those sad libs. Globalism is on the run. LMAO.
He's laughing his ass off after writing all that. I find it kind of dark.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, that was over 4 years ago.
So he was
at this point.
Clearly a dirty anti-Semite and a Rogan denier.
Rogan denier.
Doesn't get much lower than that. All right. He's, yeah. It's almost like what's this about Jan, right? Or excuse me, Jan. Oh, see, this is what Carl talks about.
Mm-hmm.
This is why he thinks Jan is. Sorry, is that public?
Yeah, it is.
He said that, right, on Andy's panel.
He said that, and it's also on a different website that even I had posted from that. He had, like, because Carl knew Jan and gave him information. Actually, Carl introduced Jan to one of Jan's wives.
You know, Carl is the last guy that I interviewed. Huh? Carl Hassel, shout out. I love that guy.
Yes, like, I would have never known him. And then when I ran into him, I was like, holy shit, dude.
Dude, he just started throwing fire in Nick's live feed when we were doing Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
So I actually I gave him like the opportunity, and he like cleared up everything he was saying, and like, yeah, it's kind of the only reason I'm in contact with him. We started writing back and forth after that. I was like, so if you want to tell me what I said that was wrong, you can come on. And it took me a year to get him on, but yeah, he's a great guy. So Carl knew Jan, and he had said that Jan was at least informing, if not straight up, deeper into it than that.
Yeah. Because I think Jan is like, he even knows a couple different languages fluently. And a matter of fact, like, his identity has changed a lot too. From his younger version, he looks like a little surfer boy. And then now you got this over here. And I think that there's even some Mormonism tied into it, and him recruiting, young girls to become married in that. And it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Good old Mormon. Yeah. So
there's Mormonism in there too.
I did say I wanted to talk more about Jan and the Rogan thing, because it was that interview, that like hour-long interview of Matthew North on Jan's podcast, and he was telling the story about when Rogan had him on in the early JRDs, back when it was like still at his fucking house.
Because I wanted, it's something that stuck in my head too.
Jan Irvin, he'll have it. He has everything.
I was, within inches of going down to this ayahuasca conference that's happening in South America, and he's going down there. I saw him on the flyer. Yeah, I saw him on the flyer.
Jan's a great guy, but he's crazy.
Is he crazy?
I never went to that conference.
It's really weird to communicate with him. He like will regurgitate facts at you without like connecting with you. You're not really communicating.
Yeah.
He's just regurgitating facts sometimes. Like, we had him on the podcast, and I couldn't get him to just have a conversation. It had to be like a lecture. It's like the way he, goes into each individual subject it's like disseminating information like a robot. But he's a really smart guy.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want it to be. I try to tell people, like, when you come on the podcast, just talk to me, man. Talk to me like a real human being about like you do when I hang out with you.
Yeah.
When I hang out with you, you talk to me different than this. Why do you talk when you get on a podcast? Why does it all of a sudden become a lecture?
Right.
And some people...
And I want to say to that point right there, because, when you're trying to present all of this information on MKUltra, the goal is to be as factually accurate as possible, and not just spew a bunch of things and make dick jokes and then go ha ha ha. It's very important information. And it's unfortunate that Rogan decided that his audience wasn't smart enough to handle the information.
Well, let me mention real quick a key point you hit on there. And actually, that podcast is really interesting to watch, the dynamic between you. And when you're pointing out, don't dumb your audience down too much, Joe, because that's what he does. He goes,
I said that on the show, didn't I?
I know, it's awesome. But he always uses that all the time. I'm just a dummy. My audience are just a bunch of dummies. They're not.
Yeah. I had about close to probably 1,000 emails from his audience after that, and this was in 2011, and I haven't been friends with the guy since I went on his show, but I had about, I left his place after that show furious, and I never wanted to be friends with the guy again. And I had about 1,000 emails from his audience apologizing to me for his behavior. That's like, took me weeks to go through all the emails, But, I don't know, the whole situation was sad and pathetic. And, he knew that I was coming on to expose MKUltra, and I think he was trying to spin it and ridicule it and make me look like a joke or whatever, rather than, allowing the information to just come out, And I thought, hey, this would be a good opportunity to expose this stuff. But it's unfortunate that he decided to become the mushroom and DMT guru and promoting the stupid stoned ape theory, which is complete garbage.
Probably when Brian Redband was producing and not Jamie. I do want to talk, when we get into Joe Rogan, I want to talk about Jamie, because you guys said some things on that panel that I think not a lot of people know. about Jamie. You know what I'm talking about?
Is that his parents being
his
or
dad?
His dad
yeah.
being
So he's
CIA
kind
or
of
something?
he fits the yeah, because everybody's like Mike Baker is Joe Rogan's handler, and it's like obviously the guy that actually produces the final product that you see, and he so often steers the conversation very like subtly, and you don't like.
Well, too, just how they say, like, Rogan doesn't know the in-depth and in and outs of who's coming on the show. Somebody else does that, and then they're like, hey, here's your talking points.
So you do think he's to a degree on that's some of the stuff he's been putting out in recent years. You think he's more of a useful idiot or entirely in on all of it?
No, I'm pretty sure he knows, but
he just doesn't do the legwork for like.
Yeah, when it comes to that, like he knows him personally, but he's like, okay, well, these are the talking points. I mean, because Rogan's a fucking actor. He's a fucking actor too. Everybody needs to know he's a fucking actor.
I mean, yeah. And he always claims that he sucks at acting. It's like I would never go back into acting. It's like, well,
he's a pretty good actor now.
Is he though? Do you think?
I mean,
he's pretty. I think he's kind of easy to read, and like, I don't hate the dude's show. But lately, it's getting wacky. It's getting out there.
What I found interesting that thinking about Rogan and his past. And I talked to Colby about this a little bit, where Fear Factor was basically like you're doing these almost satanic rituals live on television, and Joe Rogan was the one who was somewhat of the guide.
Officiating.
The shaman?
Right. He was the one who was walking these people through these rituals for everyone to watch. It's just kind of an odd little history for him, you know, that's where he got his claim to fame and kind of got the entrance.
That really was what made him more famous than anything back then, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did the second iteration of the Man Show, which didn't get that big, with Doug Stanhope, because Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel had done a few seasons, and then they got sick of doing it, and that's where I first saw Joe Rogan. I hadn't ever watched The Fear Factor. I knew people talked about it, but then because he was pretty much a household name because of that show.
See, mine was through News Radio.
Yeah, see, News Radio was a show that's like kind of not that big, and in its time, it definitely was like had its following. But he's like a smaller character on that show.
Yeah,
he's the conspiracy theorist guy. They said they did base that off of him.
Oh no! All over my shirt. Oh well.
No, seriously, where else have you traveled?
No, here in Mexico.
Hey, Foxy, I think I pulled my tricep. Does that look okay? Does that look normal right there? It seems a little puffy, no?
I'm kind of hungry. Do you want to go get something to eat?
Yeah, I'd love to get something to eat. You lead the way. All right. Hey, Joe.
I gotta get to the gym.
I just recently watched one of the actors. She was talking about how like you could just see what he was back then. Like, I mean, he kind of stands out. Fun fact, I have the same birthday as Joe Rogan. We're both fucking attention whore Leos. So anyway, yeah, that's a good point to make. Have you ever thought of that, Brandy? The ritual elements of that show?
I think people think he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Like the t-shirts, the random use of some of his words, and which Matthew brings up, like they looked at his mannerisms a lot, and it's like, you know, there's no way I could like stomach watching Rogan go through that stuff for me to pick that stuff out. I'm just like, it would trigger the hell out of me, and I'd be like scratching like a crackhead in the corner trying to get the hell out of my room. But, you know, just some of the people, it's just like you don't even have to go that far. You could go that far, but you can just like look at the people he associates with, and then who he brings on, and then who his sponsors are, and then who he says isn't his sponsors but brings up anyway. Like,
all right,
the whole Elon Musk and Tesla, and he's like, Tesla's not a sponsor. Well, Tesla
what the
doesn't.
Fuck? He talks about how he's always going to be a Tesla. It's unpaid if it's not fucking sponsorship. He's definitely sponsored.
Well, Tesla says themselves that they don't have to do that, that they don't do that. But all you have to do is have Rogan say, "Oh, I bought a Tesla."
How he was against all the electric car stuff. He's like,
then he got a call.
It's like a commercial. I drove one. I never looked back. I left my balls in the back seat, and it's just like, oh man, yeah. For him to say that that's not soft sponsorship, if I mean, yeah. Do you think he gets paid? I don't think it's about money.
He gets kickbacks.
He probably gets his Teslas for free.
That's what I'm saying. You think he really bought that damn Tesla?
Or maybe he bought one of them and then got like 5.
Well,
free,
also,
right?
I thought this was extremely strange. I said staged because that's a Freudian slip, but he had Elon on the last time. They stopped the show, which I've never seen Joe Rogan do, so he could take his 60-pound compound bow and shoot an arrow at the new Cybertruck. Cybertruck. I saw one on the.
Yeah, there's a few here, I guess.
Yeah, I tried to take a picture of it, but my phone won't work. Anyway, so he puts an arrow from like a few, I don't know, 20, 30 yards back. It was a commercial.
Yeah.
And then he went back in the studio. It's like, dude.
Yeah, because you can see that.
Like, we're not going outside. What the fuck? So anyway.
You can see the hits on it after he mentions it, how all of a sudden, because that's what I looked at. I was like, well, let me look at Tesla sales before and after Rogan mentioned it. And what do you know? Before Rogan mentioned it, they were like, oh my God, Tesla's doing awful. You know, they're going to have to make some concessions here to catch up. Then Rogan puts it all over the place. Wow. They just make a windfall. How is that possible?
Well, and the stock just goes up and down when he's on Joe Rogan.
Well, the whole stunt where he smoked pot like a cigar.
Oh yeah.
And now there's the meme of him.
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a good time to start talking about. We're on the topic of sponsors for Joe Rogan Show. This is a great time to bring in
to go from the.
Oh, well, let me show you this though, real quick. Right here, where we're going to, where it says is Matthew North dead and stuff, right?
Okay.
And all right, so they have him dead in September. This came out in November, and it says Adam Green and Handsome Truth. All right, well, guess what happened to Handsome Truth? He's dead too.
But literally, or kind of Matthew North style?
No, he's dead. And over here on Renegade Podcasts or Broadcast, the guy that was running that, he's dead.
Well, it looks like is he?
No, this is.
No, that was just a meme. Jesus, yeah. I mean, yeah. If that was the case, absolutely.
He might be alive still. You don't know. Maybe this guy like just went on the Australian potato diet.
Oh God.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. Potato diet. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So you have Adam Green here saying R.I.P. to Matthew and to Handsome Truth.
Look at Owen Benjamin's comment.
Yeah, ain't that some mean shit?
I actually don't hate Owen Benjamin, but I do not like that him and Sam buried the hatchet because their feud was so entertaining. He would have him on and they would just yell at each other the whole time, and he'd be like, "Sam, you're a fucking piece of shit loser. I fucking hate you, man." But yeah, he's like almost as bad as Ari Shaffir. He just takes the time to go extra hard, especially when it's about death. Owen Benjamin said that guy really sucked, real nasty little troll. But as you always say, now his body's just rotting and feeding the worms.
That's fucked up.
I mean, it's Owen Benjamin.
Yeah. Then you got Matthew saying that Rogan's fake and gay, and of course his guys are CIA.
With some Israeli flags.
Who are those guys? Do you know? Those are just like his security team. Yeah.
Yeah, just
he does talk about how he armed up when he moved to his Austin, Texas compound.
Well, so who posted this picture? Do you know who this person is?
Annie
I don't even think it.
Books.
Yeah, I don't know who she is. I didn't go down that rabbit hole.
Well, of course, this isn't even debated. He's gone on and said that his security team is former Navy SEALs. I heard him say that. I think it was to Elon, actually, on that episode where he shot his truck with an arrow. You know, and then there's the thing that I noticed a lot lately, anytime I listen to Rogan, the famous timing of the pee breaks. Gotta take a pee break. And then, like, they come back and the conversation is kind of taking a turn.
So they can, like, re-script.
Or I think, like, that's not a thing we're going to talk about. He did it to Tulsi Gabbard recently. He did it to Sam. Sam starts talking about Event 201. He's like, all right, man, I want you to really dive into this Event 201 thing. And it's the only thing Sam really knew about that he was about to go into on his show. That's one thing he can talk about, I guess, because then they took a pee break. They came back and they started talking about cars.
And then they had to reframe it.
I mean, Sam's even gone on and said, hey, he just wanted to talk about cars. I can't help it. It's his show. I can't, like, push back. So, anyway, a lot of Jesse Spot stuff here.
Yeah, that's some of the emails he was releasing that Matthew had sent to him.
Brendan Schaub, huh?
Yeah, I don't think Matthew was making a whole lot of friends.
Well, there's people that you know Rogan owns, literally. Brendan Schaub's one of them. He publicly ended his MMA career during an interview. It was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever sat through.
So, do we want to get into...
Oh, well, I want you to play that first clip, that very first one, and I just want you to listen to it. And this is recent, because we're okay, 2023, and just play it. Okay. I want your impression.
City Council meeting earlier this week goes off the rails. Some shocking comments sparking a back and forth between three men who called themselves white supremacists and community members then backing the council's work on diversity and inclusion. City Council tonight condemning the racist and anti-Semitic comments that stole focus during Tuesday's meeting. A man who identified himself as Matthew North spoke over the online feed during public comments, attacking people of the Jewish faith.
Multiculturalism does not work. You see it firsthand over there with the chaos that's going on. And Iowa City is getting drastically more different every day. Whenever I walk around, it's just, I don't even know what country I'm in anymore.
What the fuck?
So, I mean, the delivery is spot on. It seems like his voice is a little bit deeper if it's him.
Like he grew up some?
Yeah, but it does sound like his cadence and his delivery for sure.
But he was not
this topic
in Iowa City.
Yeah, that's the other thing, though. I mean, he could have moved somewhere, you know? He might not.
Because he was in Michigan before, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but he did go on a road tour, and Jesse even said this. He was like, he was visiting everybody, and he even came by and visited Jesse, which I think Jesse lives in Tennessee, maybe, before he ended up, you know, committing suicide in September. And then, of course, you know, they had that one speculation where they thought he was in San Francisco working as some, I don't know, road crew or some shit like that, but you couldn't see anything because that was during 2020, and of course he's got the, you know, like a mask thing on, and so there was no way of definitively knowing that was actually him. It was just a bunch of people saying it was similar.
Someone in San Fran?
Yeah.
So there's been sightings and
yeah, right,
like
sighting.
A north sighting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that this is the only thing that this news clip, the only person that they clip is Matthew North, even though they say that there's multiple people.
So he could still be a provocateur agent of some sort. Just his assignment changed. But why use that name? Just like them fucking, you know.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, why did he use North? Why didn't he use his real last name?
Isn't it, was it Operation North?
Northwoods?
Yeah. What was that?
That was the fake drones they were going to do to Cuba. It's kind of like a 9/11 type.
Oh, right.
Kennedy wouldn't pass.
Yeah, that's right.
So I kind of want to move on from him. If you have anything more compelling to say about his death, there's some more clips we could play. What are these exactly?
I think they're just photos.
Because I want to use some of this stuff, like the On It Alex Jones thing.
I think some of those might be.
Oh, this is Jesse Spots and him.
Gosh, she's young.
When you say RMA?
RMA is Revolution in Military Affairs, and it comes from future Soviet warfare ideas. So ideas that were implemented by the Soviets that were ultimately implemented in our government. So it's kind of like a good example. It's not on the same level, but like Krav Maga, the Israeli fighting technique, how they implemented it within our government. Now our soldiers are taught, or our elite soldiers are taught Krav Maga, but it's actually a foreign government's idea.
I've heard, isn't Sam Tripoli a huge proponent of Krav Maga?
And then you have Rogan with the Krav Maga shirt on in that one picture.
I noticed that too, with he was standing with Ben Shapiro.
Yep. Oh, this is where he reads Sam's stuff.
Oh, really? We gotta play this.
Oops.
He was not happy.
This whole situation happened. Sam commented on my recent video, and he said, "Matt, you're full of shit. Anytime you want to come on my show and show any proof of your insane claim that I'm a CIA asset, the door is wide open." I never said that he's a CIA asset. I never claimed that at all. I said I have an issue with you marketing conspiracies as comedy. That was what I claimed. And also gatekeeping it and mixing it with a lot of Let me say something real quick here. Things like the lizard people.
Go for it.
Which I don't agree with. Our show's kind of not serious sometimes. I talk about lizard people all day.
I feel like
here's Ari Shafir.
I mean, sometimes you have to have a little bit of comedy to help the medicine go down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like if you take all this stuff too seriously, you're just going to be super depressed.
You have to learn to laugh at the sex trafficking. End of the day.
This quick point I want to focus on here.
And fake my own death. And
Well, okay, first off, I thought that was interesting. He talked about faking his death, which is a common narrative with comedians. Well, Andy Kaufman used to talk about how he could fake his death. This is something comedians talk about, and people do fake their deaths all the time. So that's just kind of a side point.
People fake their deaths all the time? What?
I know. I thought that was interesting. I was like, let me grab this real quick.
Did we watch all of them?
I think so.
We were like a kind of a good branching point there, I thought, with talking about Joe Rogan's endorsements. So can I just hand you the baton of who Aubrey Marcus is, where he comes from, his whole influence and eventual merging with Joe?
Oh, man. Oh, okay. Do you have that link to get into his notes on the Occult? Occult Research Institute.
Yeah, you DM'd me that not long ago. I should be able to find it pretty easy.
Yeah, you can go into the one I just had because it's all under the same thing, the mental manipulation. And while you do that, I'm going to take a Rogan pee break, but I'm not going to change the subject when I get back.
CPT pee break.
Me too.
We all got to pee.
All right.
So, Brandy, why don't you've always come on the show and not really had anything to plug. So, talk about the ORI.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't even...
What is it? Occult Research Institute. What is it?
It is a group of us that are all into, I guess, what they would consider, like everybody considers the conspiracy or whatever. I'm guessing most everybody has a podcast, maybe, except for me and maybe like one other person. I don't think Jen has his own. I'm not sure.
I think he just started one. I'm having him on Thursday.
Okay. But we got invited to contribute to this. So you have like Robbie Marks and I think there's a couple others like that we added our art to because, you know, we do a lot of different stuff. And the fields of work is just like some of us go into different specialties. And so you'll find our stuff in there. Like other than the art topic, I'm on symbolism and the mind manipulation.
Ooh, fun.
But it'll tell you who the
mind
contributors
manipulation.
are.
We'll have to get you back on because I really want to go into all of the stuff with the power that our minds have and how they are basically just hijacking the hive mind to create the
with EMFs
reality, the reality that they want us to create versus maybe a reality that we could create on our own. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing, but basically, you know, if you think about the Matrix, right? Like they are using our minds as batteries in their machine to
create the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I even have that speculation on that. In that the people who are not in their system, like how we know and can pick up on when they're pushing agenda or narrative, I think that maybe, and this goes into who like supposedly real awakened people are versus the NPCs, that we in our mind, because we don't fall into that trap, that we may count more like one of us has the mental battery of maybe even, I think it was like 10K or more NPCs. So they have to try to leverage that to get the NPCs twice the amount of NPCs as it takes for one of us, because we can unravel the thoughts of 10K NPCs. So that makes us more dangerous.
So that's why they infiltrate the conspiracy.
Us, yeah.
Interesting. That's really fascinating. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, that's kind of where it comes back to the whole conspiracy candy and the term conspiracy theories and you know, like that whole realm, right? Where it's like, oh, now we're going to feed the group of people that are most powerful to create change in the world.
Which is what Matthew North could be. He could be a really, really, really sweet morsel of conspiracy candy. We're feeding it. No, I think it's worth looking into either way, though.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Aubrey Marcus and his journey into the Joe Rogan sphere.
Well, Rogan and him were actually business partners because Rogan was co-owner of Onnit.
Yeah, they're big ones, the Alpha Brain, right?
Right, yeah.
So Rogan's no longer an owner in that.
Yeah, he was co-owner in that.
But he's not now.
Well, they sold it.
Okay, so Aubrey and him are both not attached to Onnit anymore.
They probably still make some money off of it.
I hear him talk about Alpha Brain, not as much as he used to, but he'll be like, "This is definitely one of those conversations, bro, where you got to slam an Alpha Brain before it. Just get my."
I mean, I'm sure they still own some shares in it, so they still get profit distributions.
Well, they sold it to Unilever, and as we know, Unilever is pretty much BlackRock, so that's who they sold it to.
Right, one of the 4 major corporations that run the whole world.
Yeah, so of course he's going to back off a little bit because, you know, he doesn't. That's that conspiracy line he doesn't want to cross. Like, I'm not associated with them. You can't throw me with them. Just like how everybody was like, yeah, but you're in with the Rockefellers and you're in with, you know, these other people that you keep saying that you're not, but, you know, with your sponsors, you clearly are. This would be just too close to home for him because they sold it to Unilever. And we know good well.
That's easily, you can find that information very easy, right?
Yeah. They sold it for a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
Good chunk.
But before Onnit, though, was the Fleshlight, right?
Well, Rogan had just started out, and Marcus, his stepdad, was doing the Fleshlight stuff.
You know, that was our first sponsor.
Jizz water. Flashlights?
Yeah.
You ever use one?
That was our... Oh, yeah. That was our
It's too
sponsor.
powerful, dude.
They're pretty good.
It's too powerful. I had to throw mine out.
Yeah, you don't want that in
a
your life.
dumpster.
You don't want that in your life.
I couldn't put it in our trash.
It's too good.
I knew I'd fish it out. Like
if you can't get laid though, it's as close to the physical feeling of a warm vagina touching your dick.
I think it's better.
Some guys would like soak them in hot water.
Yeah.
They warm them up.
Warm them up. Fire it up, dude.
Get it to like 95 degrees. Feels like human contact.
Still gotta get a fleshlight.
That's the beauty of it. You want to get one for the road?
I mean, for the road would be nice.
Yeah. Get one of those ones that looks like a beer can, you know, because they made them like beer.
They're making them fun?
Yeah, they make them like beer.
Oh, you mean like to disguise it?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a bunch of them because they were our first sponsor.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we started On It. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah. On It.
You got that fleshlight money?
On It was started with Aubrey, who was the CEO of the Fleshlight, and me. Like, I don't even think, maybe he wasn't a CEO of the Fleshlight. Maybe he was like marketing director or something. So it's like his family owned the company, the Fleshlight company.
The Fleshlight.
Yeah, and so he reached out and said, do you guys want to have a sponsor on your podcast? We didn't have any sponsors. The podcast in the beginning, the idea that this is a big business is so hilarious. Because in the beginning, it was just so ridiculous, like how it was run. We just fucked around. We just would go online and fuck around. But as it started to grow, he was the first guy that said, hey, you guys should have a sponsor. So he had a meeting with us, and he told us about the flashlight. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I was
Did
like,
you get a free sample?
Oh, we got boxes of them.
Yeah.
I
You
would
still
hand them
got
out
those
to guests.
boxes?
So those are the ones that look like, it looks like
Doyle's.
beer.
So that was kind of like his introduction to Rogan, because there was no way Rogan couldn't. I mean, he could have, but he didn't want to be an asshole. I guess he kind of set him up. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to put this much marketing into your show. My stepson over here, he's trying to come up with this kind of say herbal supplement, stuff like that, because." Obviously, Aubrey's into the whole MMA and spirituality, combine that all together too. So his stepdad threw a bunch of money at Rogan, and then Rogan ended up having Aubrey on. Aubrey gave him the sales pitch, and Rogan was like, hey, well, if you can develop something that does this, that, and the other, let me know, we're in business. And that's how it started. Now, Aubrey's stepmom is the one that he considers to be the whole like doctor verified. She came up with the development of what to put together for his supplements, because that's what she does.
You mentioned a stepdad, and now you're mentioning a stepmom.
Right.
So
like
what kind
Aubrey's.
Of crew is this? Like it's like two married. Is it kind of cult like?
Yeah, it was like his parents divorced and then married other people.
But aren't they like all into? I mean, this is not anything I've really done personal research into, but I've heard you and others talking about. It seems a little cultish, his upbringing. No?
Well, I mean, when you're bringing your kids into a sex business, because his stepdad actually says that his younger son, like which would be Marcus's like step brother, like he actually
maybe
worked.
Even his half brother, possibly.
Yeah, like he actually worked in the fleshlight business when he was in high school. So I mean, I don't think that.
Like a senior project.
Right? Like selling this to his friends. Hey, you want a fleshlight? Let's talk about sex. It's like, who would do that? Who would pimp out your kid at school to sell some fleshlights?
And I find it interesting that the product that started this was fleshlight, because that is very much a I don't know. It's a area of business where a lot of shady things happen in that industry. And also you're selling a product that is like, you don't need to have a relationship with anybody else. You can just go watch porn and buy this fleshlight.
Yeah.
And,
tiptoeing into some transhumanist shit. If you want to
right,
take it to its logical conclusion.
Right. robotic
Right.
girlfriends and sex slaves and all.
It's gonna lead people to have sex with robots. That's coming.
It's gonna be tight.
Yeah, I think you're gonna go over a dude's house and he's gonna have a robot.
He's gonna leave it
maid.
out. You're gonna go, oh.
And you know what? Nothing's wrong with my hand. I don't need to fuck a rubber flashlight. I can get off with my imagination, thank you. It's just lazy.
Just lazy. I mean,
but you know, there's the whole movement of no fap, of not masturbating, and you know the idea that you're, especially for men, that you know every time that you ejaculate, you are losing part of your body and part of your soul, and like you know there's this whole back.
No wonder
I
feel so dead inside.
You're based, you know, every time that you ejaculate, they say that you lose your energy and you know your chi and all of this stuff. So I find it interesting that Joe Rogan pushes a product that is
contradictory.
Right, and it kind of you're losing your masculinity by using this product.
Well, I don't know if Rogan ever did, but the whole fucking Blue Chew thing in the podcast sphere is kind of massive, to say the least.
I'm sure the commission payouts are egregious.
Well, and to bring Tripoli back into it, it's one of his favorite sponsors. Like he gets so enthusiastic in those ad reads. But Blue Chew is like, fuck, Tim Dillon, I think Dave Smith, also all kind of associated with Rogan. But I wouldn't call them like the Brat Pack, like Dave Smith and Tim Dillon, but they're on the periphery of it. But anyway, so yeah, that's these sexually dysfunctional type products that get pushed.
That, and like the first thing that even Aubrey had was that nail polish for men, like alpha nail.
Alpha
it's like,
nail, yeah.
Yeah, like for what? Why?
Well, so with the Blue Chew and with the Fleshlight, just to like hit on this one last time, and I'll drop it. But most men that have a problem getting hard in the bedroom is because they're addicted to porn, and they can only get up with their hand and watching other people have sex. It's a dysfunctional.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, there's a whole movement of men who struggle with this.
Yeah.
And it's not to mention, you know, if you're having trouble getting it up, like first look at your diet and your lifestyle. That is a huge contributing factor.
Well, they're taking that area as well with on it.
Yeah.
So they're trying to 360 you.
So
we've got the sex stuff, we got your spiritual stuff.
Yeah, because another thing that Aubrey's really into is talking about his ayahuasca retreats. It's like,
and actually, he even says on there, like when he was 18, it was his dad that was like, "Hey, go do some mushrooms and come back."
So now a biological parent's coming into the
yeah, and his bio dad, he died, but we're talking about his bio dad, that a man who is hardly I wouldn't even say a regular person. Like Aubrey came from a lot of damn money.
So his bio dad was like big in the.
Oh yeah, a stock trader, like one of the top two. I think it was on there. Because it's on. Let's see. I made sure to do a screenshot on here. Because I even went into all the business deals and money switching and changing hands, all the different businesses. Yeah, like that chart right there, which you might have to like hit the zoom thing on your browser so you can zoom it up. Like his dad,
Michael Marcus.
Yes, is Michael Marcus.
Soros.
Who was raised Jewish.
His compound annual return was 120%
Yeah. So it's a safe bet to use him to do your trading.
And the
you can
only
see
way that you know that is because you know all the shit that's happening.
Right. And look, he's better than Soros. Like Soros is on that list. This is how they said he's one of the world's greatest investors in trading performance.
Soros is only 29%.
Well, he probably pockets a lot of it.
Wow.
But yeah, his dad was up there. His dad is second.
Wow. Richard Dennis, Uncle Richard. I don't recognize the name.
You're like, shit, if you knew that, you're getting ready to call him up right now and be like, dude, you were holding out.
Hey, Uncle Dick, I need a favor.
Dick Dennis.
Should I buy into Rumble? Jeremiah
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I've listened to a few of Aubrey Marcus's podcasts.
Yeah.
And frankly, he is not smart.
No.
Like, listening to him talk, it hurts my brain to listen to him.
You should have took Alpha Brain.
He tries to sound it.
Yeah, he tries to sound really smart, and it definitely,
Well, he also pushes this new age polyamory thing.
Yeah.
But he has like these episodes I've heard where he talks to the woman he fucked and his wife like at the same time, and it's all about his jealousy issues and shit. I just stopped listening to him after like a few of those. I was just like, this guy's clearly a tool. But
yeah, it's like, are you sure that you were actually involved in it, or were you in the cuck chair? Because it sounds like you were in the cuck chair, dude. Or you
wearing the cuck hat
was with a man instead. So what I did was I looked into a lot of his dad's business deals and how many, like his family was into a lot of oil businesses, and they just kept renaming stuff. They would just close out one business after they got investors, turn it over to another business, get some investors, close that one out, turn it into another business. So these investors were kind of like losing their money because they would say, oh, it's changing hands or it's bankrupt, so we're going to go into this other business. And like this All-American Burger, why the hell would you take the energy company and then turn it over into an All-American Burger? I mean, that just seems like a front operation.
Sounds like a synthetic hamburger patty.
Probably. So below is like a list of all the businesses that he ended up going through. Just renaming.
I mean, they're probably all like holding companies, right?
Yeah. And so he just gave them to other people. So even though he's dead, all these other people here are who is holding that money. So
this guy would have no reason to fake his death.
Oh, I know, right? So I'm pretty sure like Aubrey gets a nice little trust outcome.
Well, you know, Aubrey's one of those guys that I haven't seen in the Rogan sphere lately. Did he kind of part ways after the On It sold?
Well, like after he sold it to Unilever, but then Aubrey was accused of harassing another male MMA fighter, like sexually harassing him.
A male MMA fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember who?
It's on one of these links.
Hey, why did the guy just kick the shit out of him?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Y'all can supposedly fight. Why didn't you know? But you know, whatever. I don't know why. Let's see.
Hey, in your research, you ever get into Duncan Trussell at all?
I did not go down his yet. I have not.
He's one of them I actually like.
I know. I was like,
his show is entertaining, but he's definitely in the vein of all of this.
Yeah, he's in there.
He jokes about being a CIA agent on his show. Like he jokes about it, so it's like, you know. And I'm not saying these, like, don't get me wrong, everybody. I'm not saying all these guys are CIA agents, but there's like levels to this shit, and just posting my little take on Terrence Howard on Twitter. I actually found myself like arguing with I know it was an AI after like our third encounter. I was like, why am I doing this? This isn't a real person. But they're good now. You can always tell though, because you go to their page and they've got like 0 followers and they follow 4 people.
and never post.
Yeah, well, this guy's posting a lot. I think he's
wow.
But
well, yeah, then it could be. Okay, Travis, whatever that last name is, Nuaza? But he says that he was pulled from EBI after refusing to sleep with On-It CEO Aubrey Marcus.
Oh, this is the fighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was saying he was pulled out of competing because he turned Aubrey down.
So is Aubrey like Dana White connections?
I think they're all connected, but even Joe Rogan, and I think Matthew North has mentioned this too, that even Joe has said that in the MMA field that you are propositioned as such. So it's not like he denied that stuff was going on. He just didn't say, Aubrey did it or didn't do it. But it's not, I don't think it's the first time anybody's been like, Aubrey's gay.
So did he sexually harass or did he just proposition this guy?
I think he propositioned him like, hey, sleep with me.
This is why he's ass kicked.
But I mean, most men would be like, motherfucker, what? No, and that'd be it. But him taking away his money would be enough to get his ass kicked. Like, you're destroying my career because I don't want to suck your dick. I mean, that's fucked up.
So what I'm gathering here, and it's such the thing that because a little backstory here, this motherfucker sitting to my right is the one who showed me what podcasts were. I didn't even know. We started.
Would have been in like 2016 or something like that. 2016,
somewhere in there. And he wasn't really a conspiracy theorist much back then. I mean, he died.
I mean, I
9/11 truther.
Yeah,
maybe.
I questioned 9/11 for sure, and but I didn't really go too deep down the rabbit hole.
But when we talked about starting this thing, it was going to be like you were the skeptic.
Yeah.
Anyway, he showed me an episode of Joe Rogan with what's the biker's name? The guy that got caught cheating.
Oh, Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong. So I listened to that and I was like, I know Joe Rogan. He has a podcast. What the fuck? I didn't know how big it was. It wasn't like
it wasn't that big.
Wasn't what it was now.
No.
I mean, I would say in 2016 it was definitely starting its rise.
Yeah. It was starting to reach.
But you always hear Sam Tripoli and Joe Rogan saying this thing just kind of became what it is on its own, and it's like that's the biggest joke ever. We all know that's not true, but what you're showing here with the money that Aubrey has behind him, and then they get into this, I mean, clearly, maybe he didn't have open door policy with his father's cash, but he didn't need Joe Rogan to do On It. But the push, it's like this one hand washing the other thing where they're helping each other rise. And this is so early on in his podcast career that Joe Rogan's getting all this really big dough behind him. So to even say this thing's organic at this point, you just have to be fucking ignorant and not.
Well, that, and you start seeing, it started a thing of people who didn't need the money, like these actors and
it's kind of like Trump now asking people for money for his trial.
Right, you don't need the money, and then they all have fucking podcasts now, all of them. You're not just an actor or a comedian or some MMA fighters. Every last one of the people that Aubrey knows, on his staff and stuff, every fucking last one of them, even his parents have fucking podcasts.
That's hilarious. His parents?
It is.
All four of them?
Yeah, why do you need all that? For what? But it's easier if you can affiliate with somebody, and then it's not like you're just getting Rogan's following. No, Rogan brings in Aubrey, so now Rogan has Aubrey's followers, and then Aubrey's got Rogan's followers. So then they start bringing in their friends. They have podcasts too. So now you're just all platform boosting each other because their audience is going to follow who they tell them to follow.
We do that in this on this level. Like we
Right.
all create audiences and gain followings. Yeah, I mean, we can see how it works.
Right.
I just think it's funny that his parents have podcasts.
Yeah, it's like, for what? What are y'all really taught? You know,
They got to play their part.
I was gonna say, well, I mean, yeah, what are they selling on the back end? Because at the end, because like from a marketer's perspective, podcasts are the best form of long form marketing because you can develop trust with your audience because you're in their ears for an hour to 2 hours at a time. So then when that podcaster asks you to buy something, you're more likely to buy on the back end because you're like, oh, I know this guy. I listen to him all the time. He's my friend. I know him so well.
and he's co-owner, you know, part owner of the product he's selling. Not only that, you know, his Irish stepmom is, you know, the consultant.
So she's
on
the one who
pharmaceutical
basically
end.
decided what went into Alpha Brain. She was the doctor.
She formulated the product.
What
Yes.
kind of doctor is she? Do you know?
She's not. She's an herbalist.
Do you know what nootropics are? Because when I went down this in my own head and I started asking about the MK Ultra end of this shit, what the fuck what is the big tie with supplements and podcasters? Because Alex Jones was kind of like
He
on
sells
the
it
ground
too.
level of that movement.
Mhm.
Well, they're not FDA regulated. And
Yeah, they're not FDA regulated.
Is that a
at
bad
all.
thing?
I mean, not necessarily a
No.
bad thing, but it makes it easy to go to market, and a lot.
You just mean supplements in general.
Supplements in general, and a lot of these formulations have a lot of filler ingredients that are cheap, or they get the ingredients themselves really cheap from China. Because I'm a big nootropics user myself, but
he's a victim of MK Ultra.
If you go into any nootropics forums or any serious like there's a Reddit community all about nootropics, and the people who are well seasoned in it will tell you don't ever take any of the pre-formulated ones like Onnit or any of these other ones, because for one, you don't know exactly what you're getting because it'll just say proprietary blend and it will just have a list of ingredients. You don't know how much of each thing. Whereas it's better to get the pure
Stack it yourself.
Exactly. And there's only like a few companies that do third-party testing that actually make sure it's pure and it's actually what you're getting, and that each batch is tested to make sure that it's has the levels of whatever compound you're looking for. To me, I firmly believe in some of the nootropics for what they are, but it's not something that you should just take like a multivitamin where you're like, oh, I'm just going to pop this one thing and it's going to be everything I need. You kind of got to stack it to what like each
your needs are.
Yeah. If you want nootropics, go to my favorite is I think, let's see here. I got a bottle right here.
Here comes our kickbacks.
Yeah, I wish, huh?
Hey, did you ever get into Sam Ferris? Or Tim
Ferriss? I haven't too much.
Because he's the hack your brain guy, and he
nootropics based.
Oh yeah.
They do all third-party testing. This is some caffeine and NALT, which is a compound that helps focus.
Can I have one?
Yeah, you want? It might help.
I'm taking this on air. Joe Rogan, eat your heart out.
But with these pre-formulated ones, they can so easily just put in a shitload of B vitamins and niacin so that you feel like you're getting an effect, because niacin has a flushing effect.
Yeah.
So then you feel like
I hate that.
You're getting a placebo effect, super strong, because you're like, oh, I feel something. When in reality, it's just a flush that's happening, and there's nothing actually chemically going on in your brain.
The first one I'd ever heard of was Qualia.
The what?
Qualia. Oh yeah.
Qualia. Yeah.
Where was that sold? Where you saw it?
Online, but that's the brand of it, because they call themselves neurohackers, but they will give a list of the different things. Then you can stack them yourself and put together your own, because like everybody, I mean, you got to be cautious too, because these are pretty much just like, I don't want to say they're weeds, but I mean it's just natural plants that are growing around, and you don't know if you're allergic to it or not. And if you're seriously allergic to something and you've never been exposed to it, it's going to fuck you up.
Yeah, I was taking.
I mean, you can forget a rash; you can swell up.
I was taking a nootropic that was actually imported from Russia, and it's like you can get it over the counter there. Neopet, I think it's called.
Neopet?
Yeah, it's a weird one. But it's actually, there's been quite a bit of studies around preventing and slowing Alzheimer's. But some people have adverse reactions to it. For me, when I took it, I would feel pretty good for like a week or so, and then after a week, I started to get terrible esophagus, reflux and like chest tightening and all this stuff, and I had to cut it out because it was like upsetting something.
Well, you're lucky that you could isolate it to what it was doing that.
Right, and that's the big thing that people warn against, these
taking all this shit at once.
Yeah, because then you're taking this mixed bag and you don't know what specific compound in there is causing the reaction.
And one side affecting the other, like the flush situation, like I can't handle that at all, because it actually makes my skin like swell all over. I just start itching, swelling up. Can't do it. And even there's certain types of sugar that they will try to use. It does the same thing. It creates this flush, and I turn red, swell up. Can't do it.
All right. So nootropics, theoretically, could it be intelligence linked? Like you just, I'm serious, because I don't know the big push with fucking conspiracy theorists selling.
Well, I mean, I could say this was another I swear there's so much fucking going on at the same time. Now you have these rappers and shit making goddamn meditation music, and they're like, hey, listen to my new stuff, we're doing meditation.
So like binaural type stuff.
Right. It's like, why would we even trust you? First of all, we already knew that rap was invaded by the CIA to make.
I know Ice Cube finally admitted it.
Yeah, and it's like, so now you want me to listen to your meditation shit? You want me to put my mind at this certain frequency for what?
Sam Harris wants you to do it too.
Yeah, I'm not too cool with that. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that, because now you got these zombies walking around, blind faithing these damn rappers because now they're so spiritual. And it's like, isn't that funny how now everybody is becoming so spiritual, so much so that they coined the term conspiritualist as a conspiracy theorist who is also a spiritual believing person, and they put them together and they're like, oh, these people are like a triple threat, because they just going to get you at all angles. They can come at you spiritually and corrupt you with their theoretical minds of how the mind and the universe is working together to create. It's so crazy.
But the funny thing is they're right.
Oh, they're right, but they don't admit to the fact that they are creating it themselves as the anti-culture. Because they're like, fuck, we can't have the people who really know how to do this.
Well, you got to be at least self-aware, but like you're saying, a lot of it's intentional. Like these people co-opted.
Well, the supplement game, because the supplement game for podcasters or on it or anything like that, like it's a huge money grab. Like anybody who's in the gym space or anything like that, like they are going to make their own protein powder or supplement line because they can make money hand over fist, and the profit margins are insane with it. And so it's like the ability to make bucket loads of money with these audiences is infinite. And then you get them, it becomes kind of diluted, and then it makes it so that you almost then don't trust anything in that realm, because all these people are just making 50% profit margins on this product that they're buying from China, and labeling as their
Well,
own.
do you remember, and I'm not a huge John Oliver fan anymore, but he did an expose story on Alex Jones, and he showed the markup on his vitamin D, and it was like 900% or something.
I'm sure.
But because it's like got another extra ingredient in there. It's vitamin D with this other thing that'll
vitamin E or something
that will shield your skin from a nuclear blast. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm just making it up, but it was like
no, but no, it sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, it's like you buy the buckets of slop and the fucking nuclear fallout protected vitamin D.
Well, see, even on the other side of like the fitness stuff with the spirituality and, you know, the supplements, like Aubrey cornered that too because he has a Fit for Service fellowship where it's a membership service where you join that and you're like in
all
a group.
Exercise together?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. You do like Zoom calls to check up on your journey. So you can go on a journey with his instructors and have a personal connection with them.
That's flat out cult.
Wait, yeah. As soon as I seen fellowship, I was like, oh, nope. That's a no word.
Like a lot of these bigger cults, and I'm not talking about drinking Kool-Aid in the woods. I'm talking about like.
No,
I don't know.
Like they can even call like podcasting cults because we've seen podcasts with cult followings and they are leaders.
It's almost like they swarm around their leader.
They do. And you know that anytime you say something bad.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's like
you know, somebody does have their swarm.
Yeah, and I felt the wrath of that.
I don't know what Mr. Rogan likes to call his people, but
they're the Brogans.
No, they're the apes.
I've
Or
heard-
like
the apes. Oh my God! Can we have apes against bears?
Who are the bears?
Oh, and Benjamin.
Oh, I thought you were doing two bears in one cave.
Ew, let's not.
No, they're on the same side as Rogan though. But Owen Benjamin, his beef with Rogan still seems to be alive, even though him and Tripoli have buried the hatchet. But like,
but no. Funny that you even say anything about a cave because that is also an Aubrey Marcus thing too, where you go on these cave retreats with him.
No, we had some that were built here in the last couple years.
Oh my God, to go on those retreats?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers came and he did.
Yes, with Aubrey.
That was here. This is right outside where he and I worked together, like 20 miles south of where we are now.
Damn.
And yeah, Aaron Rodgers quit early. He didn't.
Which is crazy as hell because, you know, they both endorsed Kennedy.
The Kennedy Marcus thing is odd because it's almost like cyclical. Like they both endorse each other. It's weird. Have you noticed that?
To love and to justice.
A weak mind cannot exist in a strong body.
Between fellow human beings.
When I look at America, we refuse to give up. When we look at the plight of what's taking place of America in a setback, we don't sit in a setback and settle in a setback. We bounce back and have a comeback, and that's why we're here today.
These ideas that I've been working with and thinking about my whole life as a philosopher, they're not just ideas anymore. They can actually happen. There are millions and millions of children and adults in this country in misery.
I think the most shameful statistic in America is that 50% of teens are obese or overweight. We are poisoning our children. There's 5 billion prescriptions written in America per year. We are being brought to our knees by chronic conditions. We need a president who understands and has the moral clarity to call that out and take on.
So all of these institutions of our democracy have been systematically corrupted by this industry, and that's what the swamp is. We're going to heal this nation, not only the vitriol and the rancor and the polarization, but also heal our mental health and heal our souls and rebuild this sense of American community. Let's try to end the chronic disease and get our country back together again. And if I get elected, I'm going to do that.
The question was, how do we step into a new era of human thriving in America? What is at the heart of wellness, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? So with RFK Jr., the next president of the United States, we brought together an unbelievable team of visionaries, thought leaders, and speakers to illuminate both the problems and the solutions that we're facing right now as a country and as a world. You're going to want to stick around and hear all of these unbelievable talks from one of the most powerful days I have ever experienced in my entire life.
They might have some business dealings together.
I think so. When it's weird too, because like you get into his end of the thing, you bring RFK Jr. into it, and then you get like another angle is the recovery people. And he actually has gone on The Hill. Have you ever watched The Hill? It's that like internet news. They're decent. They have like a libertarian angle. But they showed a story where RFK Jr. was talking about these work camps that you volunteer for, but it's mandatory 5-year minimum, and this is for people in recovery. And I fucking went after him hard for that on like my other show and on Twitter, and people were saying this is a good thing.
Yeah,
like,
because
dude, because they say it's voluntary, but this you open up a door for like making deals with the judge. Like, yeah, I'll go to there. But fucking jail sentence for like a drug crime isn't that much. You have to do 5-year minimums, and it's basically a work camp.
Well,
and
what's fucked up about that is you have these kids doing that. Like when we were bringing up the Synanon and CEDU stuff, you have these outdoor retreats, and that is part of their treatment. And the whole treatment was, hey, we need to stop this. This is some cult shit. Your mind controlling.
Netflix just make a documentary about it, and Paris Hilton was one of them.
Yeah, she was one of them, and of course, like Adam Egget, in which that's the road I went on. You know, that's Rogan's guy.
So talk about that a little bit. This organization.
Well, it was just like another long arm, because I really wanted to know, like, why would he bring up Adam Egget like that? Why is he bringing that up? You know, and I think it was because he wanted to show that Rogan not only has all these assets around him, all these active military intelligence people, which Aubrey did too. The guy who was Aubrey's next in command used to do military intelligence. Go figure. But that he also had people that were in these programs that are considered mind control camps, and that they were doing it at, like, especially like CEDU, these were kids that they did all this shit to. But another thing was there was so many connections with this shit that it was crazy, like crazy ridiculous. Like, the people that were involved, of course, had a lot of money, but they're also these influencers out here right now. So you're saying that CEDU was a cult and they were mind controlling and influencing these kids, but these kids grew up and now they're influencing another generation.
So is there anybody else noteworthy aside from Paris Hilton and this other guy you're talking about?
Oh yeah, you've got who is it? Tommy Hilfiger, his kid. Roseanne Barr, all of her kids.
What, really?
Yes, like they were just sending them like crazy, and it's actually on there. Like
the kid that is the producer on her podcast right now.
He probably went to, because if you look it up, and Reddit put it through him, but like everybody who was anybody, there were celebrities even endorsing this, just like they did Synanon. Like, hey, send your kid here, even though half of them would end up missing. There was some that died. Some of them's never even been found. It has connections to Ruby Ridge. It has connections to. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
Like Randy Giver.
Yeah, go down through here, and it will say. These are like all the accusations and charges. Hold on. I'm gonna search it on my end here.
Ruby Ridge, wasn't that right before we?
I mean, there's just so much craziness.
I don't think this is in time. In order.
It seems to be.
Oh, okay, it is.
But I don't see it. We're looking for the Ruby Ridge. Here it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I hit Control F to try to find it. Because there was actually called a wilderness. They put one of the wilderness camps in Ruby Ridge.
So July 28, 1994, it is revealed that a former CDU employee and white separatist planned to kidnap students attending Rocky Mountain Academy for ransom, including the children of celebrities Barbara Walters and Clint Eastwood. The employee, who was a friend of Randy Weaver, a central actor in the 1982 Ruby Ridge standoff with federal agents at his cabin. Interesting.
So, do you think there's a possibility that was staged, Ruby Ridge?
It could have been.
I mean, honestly, the more, like, I've gotten to the level where everything that I used to like use as my reason for being a conspiracy theorist, I could say was probably not real. And this is one of them where if this was real, yeah, here we are. But if it wasn't, it's just another way to instill fear in patriots who want to own guns and shit, you know, the whole like
Well, yeah.
divisive. So I don't know. I where are you out with all that, Brandy? Are you like, you willing to go there with most things or some things?
To me, I just consider everything, and I come in contact with people that they know, they're like, oh my God, if you have a conversation with her, she's getting ready to tell you it's all fucking not real. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And if you're not willing to have that conversation with me, then don't tell me about how you think it's real when I tell you it's all a script, you know? And then you're going to be like, well, what's your proof? Motherfucker, what's your proof? What's your proof it's real? Because you have a belief? That's a fucking opinion. And
No,
who was
you
your
were,
opinion
you were
gave to
told it
by?
was real.
Right, we have no concrete, like, first-hand experience.
Yeah, and it's like, but the only difference between me and you is you watched it on TV and I read some shit. So if you would just read some shit, it might start opening up how everything that you look, see, taste, feel, touch was given to you to elicit a response. Everything. Marketing, the car you got on, drive, the shit you listen to, what you watch on TV, what you're eating is to elicit a response. Your fucking socks. You got logos all around you. But, you know.
You saw it firsthand, too. I don't know. I don't think Jeremiah has any way of knowing this, but was it Navy that you were in?
Mm-hmm.
She was in the military, so you've seen programming firsthand, up close and personal.
You experienced it because they programmed you when you first enlisted, right?
Oh, let me tell you, boot camp, it is exactly like a mind control because they take everything from you and then they slowly build you back up. They wake you up at an ungodly hour to where you can't really think, so you're in alert fight or flight stage. The first morning we had there, well, the first day we were there, we didn't sleep for like 2 days. You did not sleep. You had to march around, you had to stand up, you could not go to sleep. That first morning when we were able to sleep, they wake you up and it is a shock to your system. And as soon as you get up, you have to jump out of them bunks and stand up, just alert. Chick, it was a total shock to her system. All you heard was bam. She hit the floor. Passed out. Done.
Fight, flight, freeze, right?
Yep, she froze. She was out. And
Did she leave after that?
No, she didn't leave, but
stuck around.
They told her, you know, don't lock your knees. So,
you know, one of my favorite movies that Kubrick did is like not one you usually think of, but the Full Metal Jacket, the first half of that movie that shows boot camp. Have you seen it?
Yeah. You get put in stressful situations and they teach you how to disassociate. Like, I can do that well to where you don't associate yourself as being a part of the situation, because if you are part of the situation, you can get caught up in the emotions and actions of others. Like, you can be traumatized with what you see, but when you disassociate, your brain still works and is able to tell your body what to do without you being overwhelmed with the situation.
So it's like Project Monarch at boot camp.
Yeah.
You're getting traumatized and taught how to dissociate and
it's
become
trauma bonding.
Create alter egos maybe that they use when you're actually in war.
Well, yeah, because you have to. You're like, okay, I'm this person. So, you know, I'm in this position, I'm in this uniform, so I'm taking on this role. And everybody around me is a part of me, and who they are personally doesn't matter to me. I have to carry the team, they have to carry me. We're in this together.
And then you see like the bond that these veterans have after they've gone to
We
war.
do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's anything that you do that if you go through trauma together with somebody or something intense together, you are going to form a bond with them. It's not out of the equation. And the same thing with, like you said, with the uniforms, and they make every single person in boot camp look exactly the same, right? There is no individuality.
Shave your head right there.
Yeah.
What do they do to girls? Did you have to shave your head? Chin length?
Chin length hair, yeah. Chin length hair.
G.I. Jane, motherfucker, she shaved her head.
And like we weren't separated, like how there was just girls training with girls, boys training with boys. No, we had a brother group. We trained all together. Yeah. We trained together, so nobody did what
did you
like.
Yeah, this is the one that I want her to talk about. That's why I scrolled down here, because this ties back to Joe Rogan. You were starting to actually mention this right when we got into this file. The Adam Egget, known for his work with Norm Macdonald, talks about his experiences with CEDU on the JRE podcast. Egget describes CEDU as an abusive cult and talks about multiple examples of child endangerment he saw as a client. So, who is this guy?
Adam Egget was the
Comedy Store connection there, right?
Well, he was the manager.
Manager of the Comedy Store.
And he brought Rogan back because, they kicked Rogan out for a while.
Because of the Mencia thing.
Yeah, saying that Mencia was stealing his material and stuff. And yeah.
Publicly called him out, got kicked out of there.
And Egget brought him back. Then, when Rogan went to Austin and bought this new comedy club, he brought...
Oh, I don't think he bought it. I think he built this thing. The Mothership?
Yeah, that's Rogan's new club.
It's all the fucking words. It's the Mothership, and then it's got
the alien abduction thing,
or the two comedy rooms doing the nuclear bomb. A little tip of the hat there. Yeah. But apparently, it is like the happening thing right now, which is something I talked to you about, Brandy, when we were messaging about this. Is like there seems to be, and I don't think we're recording yet. We talked about Bill Hicks early on in Austin, but there seems to be this weird LA Austin connection that is it's like they kind of are feeding off of each other. Like there's a Laurel Canyon energy right now to Austin with all of the tech companies. You got Elon and Joe. You sent me a clip of Joe talking about how he's got 20 to 30 people to follow him there. Yeah. I mean, he openly talks about we just need to get Joey Diaz down here now and it'll be everybody. But it's like this mass migration. A lot of the bigger did it immediately, but people have kind of...
Well, Alex Jones is in Austin too.
Alex Jones, Bill Hicks, right?
Exactly. He just went home.
And I don't care if I know there's people out there who think that is outlandish theory, but to me it's like the Bernstein Bears.
Oh my God! Right.
The Mandela effect. I just have this thing in my brain that I can't turn it off. Now that I saw that video of early Alex Jones footage, and it was years after Bill Hicks died, but that was Bill Hicks. Right now, the transformation, you kind of got to work your way backwards from this one to really get it.
Yeah. Which is hard to, that clip, which I'm glad somebody put it up, because I think it was on Twitter that somebody was like, hey, I finally found this clip, because The clip of what you said, the early Alex Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I put it in one of our episodes. I didn't know it'd been up on Twitter. That's awesome, because more people need to see that. It's just, you can't, like, I mean, deep fake, maybe at this point, I guess you could say they're able to do that stuff, but this looks legit to me. Anyway.
Yeah, like I ran across it and I just read it and not even thinking about it, but I do remember that's somebody had put it up.
Do you have any theories about, like, what is it with Austin and LA? You think there's like a ley line? I don't know, or like geographically if there's some kind of significance there.
I honestly think it's because they're close to the border there. I think it's easier to traffic the commodities that surround the border. Just like in LA was close enough to the border as well.
At all. You'd get over into like Oklahoma. You go just straight west, but so you get Austin to LA. Anyway,
there might be some tunnels.
Could be.
Well, funny you mentioned that one, because the comedy store in LA used to be ran by the mob, and that was the thing, that the house that's connected to the comedy store had tunnels from the comedy store up on top of the hill to that house, because that's where the lookouts would stay.
Did Matthew North ever get into that hotel where Sam was apparently worked? And
yeah, he did. And he didn't do a deep into it. He was just saying that. I've tried, and one of my friends had tried, and I was trying to get where it, like, I want concrete thing, not like he said, she said. I want some proof that Sam worked as a valet or whatever at that particular club.
He's admitted that he's worked there, but there's like a discrepancy of how long and what his job actually was. Was he a valet driver? Was he a busboy or what?
Yeah, which like, that's interchangeable. If they don't have enough valets, they can always take the busboys.
He has been called out for misrepresenting the amount of time by certain people, and he can just play like, I flunked first grade, bro. Like, you expect me to not be able to fuck up a few dates here and there? I do want to show you something, because he has every right to be pissed off at Joe Rogan for how he did him when he had him on his podcast. But to this day, I mean, he had the one guy on, that fucking medical dude. He's like, what's his name? He was running for some kind of office. Sam used to have him on all the time, and then he fucking told Sam that he was Joe Rogan's bitch. And they took down the episode. It's Dr. Shiva.
The problem with the crowd, including the Kennedys and the Rogans, and this is how they get out of this, is they point it somewhere else. They point it at this people or that group.
They divide us too.
They divide us, but the reality is a swarm is about 10,000 people who are very interconnected. Their kids go to the same equestrian shows. They go to the same golf courses. They're a global, multiracial, decentralized swarm intelligence. It includes the top 100 university presidents. It includes, the heads of the major investment banks. It's a whole group of people. But the key thing is, the front end of that swarm is the obvious establishment, the people like the Clintons and the McConnells, but the not so obvious establishment, which is back-ended by these social media influencers like Joe Rogan's, like Tucker Carlson, and we can talk more about him, what a duplicitous asshole he really is. These are the people, the left and the right, have the wings of the establishment who sucker people in by saying stuff. So when we go back to this 1962 Vaccination Act, we got to understand that this was a swarm. Kennedy won, JFK, a reckless individual who was made into some great martyr through all this Camelot nonsense. And then the brother who killed a woman, raped and killed women. Kennedys can get away with that. You and I can't. And he's a guy who passed the National Vaccine Injury Program, was instrumental in that. And that is what protected in 1986 all of Big Pharma. So instead of getting rid of this bureaucracy, the swarm created more of the swarm. The swarm has manipulated a lot of people, brainwashed them, to look to these assholes for their salvation. And this is the unfortunate brainwashing that takes place when people watch social media, influencers like Joe Rogan, or they look to Hollywood for their salvation. These people are highly connected. They're all part of one swarm. You can point to certain individuals like Ari Emanuel, who runs all of the largest Hollywood agencies. He runs UFC, he owns WWE Entertainment. He's the agent to Trump. So there are a few people who have, so if people should look up a guy called Ari Emanuel. He is William Morris Agency. If anyone has been in the Hollywood, when I lived out there, is the premier agency. If you want to be an actor and actress at some A-list level, you need William Morris, or you're nobody. They can make you or break you. Well, Ari Emanuel is the CEO of that. They changed their name to Endeavor. They were the agents for Trump. They're the agents for Obama. They're the agents of every major Hollywood star. Well, they also own UFC. You get the picture? Political theater, Hollywood theater, boxing theater, and then they recently bought for $6.2 billion from Vince McMahon, actual WWE. So these guys' entire mentality is theater. That is where Joe Rogan comes from. The guy used to be eating maggots and stuff. Remember that? He used to do these crazy shows. So this is the level of consciousness, and they know how to manipulate people.
Where do you feel like we should go from here? Because I was just going to show a clip of a recent Tinfoil Hat episode where Joe Rogan came up as being controlled opposition, and Sam it was XG that
lost it.
Well, I'll show you. You know who Human Vibrations is?
I've heard.
She's the one who thinks everything's fake. She got famous on Sam's show for saying that the Jean Brené Ramsey thing was staged. But she went back on and she's saying that like war isn't like real. She's like, yeah, they get you all to go act on this thing and they have to kill some people, but the numbers are way inflated. And like Sam made her change the subject when she was saying that. He got hella uncomfortable. But they start talking about Alex Jones.
Be stricken with a $1 trillion mess on your hands. I think it's all for show. I think it's all for show to keep us from asking questions, from looking into these situations.
You threw Alex Jones in there. Would you say maybe Joe Rogan could be in part of that as well, or you think he's a little bit more on his own lane?
Are you retarded?
Well, I had to ask. I mean, she said she threw everyone else in there. Alex Jones. We're not gonna.
You know what? I guess I'm just gonna have to sit across from Joe Rogan and see for myself.
You see? I mean, I had to ask. I don't think she was. If not, she would have said it.
Just sometimes you go fully retarded, dude. It's just unbelievable. Anything is possible.
I like it. No.
Anything is possible. Let's get into locked door theory.
That's ironic.
Let's change the subject.
Well, and he goes into locked door theory, saying there's things that are locked doors. Apparently, Rogan's his.
Well, the thing with Sam, like what my friend had put out was like, Sam was at valet, and that is where, you know, in that hotel, anytime that they would have like, you know, the girls that they needed disposed of, that they would throw them in the trunks of the cars, and Sam would drive those cars and go park them so that whoever needed to get rid of the car or the evidence would come pick it up. So he knew where to park the car.
Yeah, and see, the thing is like, that's all speculation, but it is clear that Joe has something on him. Because he
won't say a damn thing.
His audience has to know at this point what Joe Rogan is. I mean, it's just not even up for debate, in my opinion.
Well, you know what's funny, too, is that, like Nick will have me search certain things and, you know, to help him out, like, especially with his, what was the smiley face killer shit, like finding who owns what and where and how long they owned it and all this other stuff. And I looked up some of Sam's stuff, and in association with where he lives and his baby mama or whatever, there's a third guy in there, and he is like some retired musician and shit. And Nick's theory is that guy is Sam's handler.
Okay, so how does he fit into the whole thing?
He and Sam have I want to say it's an LLC, but what is also funny is one of Sam's LLCs, the address is actually the church where he was doing his AA at.
Okay, see, and like I said, I think that a lot of these recovery groups.
Oh, but they're fucking cults. Because that's what Synanon was a fucking cult, but it started off as a recovery group.
Well, and I know that's a soft spot for a lot of people who have gone to AA.
Well, first of all, when they tell you that you are not in control of yourself and you must surrender to this and all this other stuff, that right there should let you know you need to fucking run. I hate it for, like, it looks awful because, you know, I work in mental health and I'm sitting here looking at these people every damn day and I'm just like, y'all are so fucking retarded. None of this shit is real. Y'all are just indoctrinating people, because anytime anybody goes into treatment or goes into the system, they never fucking come out. Never. And even their kids, when they are in the system and they have kids, their kids follow the same shit. They never fucking get out. They send them to these treatment centers. They get indoctrinated. They get the mind meds. Never. You hardly ever see maybe 1-2 success stories, but I don't know how the hell this whole system is operating off of 1 or 2 success stories. They don't even take them out of their environment. They put them right back in the same environment that created them, and they're using it, the excuse that, well, we have to give them choice. And it's like, do you want them to be better or not? Why are you returning them to the same environment that got them in the situation they were in to begin with?
Well, I don't know. I just think there's a huge overlap between celebrity, rehab, cults. It's all...
Well, it lets you know, just like you see now, but the rappers with the meditation, and they want you to say, oh, it's okay. Like even on Sam's show, they push that mindful app or something like that where...
Meditation app?
Yeah, and also if you're depressed and stuff like this, you can report
they have BetterHelp.
Yeah.
That's another
so they're
one.
like, it's
like
okay.
The new Blue Chew on podcast is like getting your online shrink.
Yeah, but instead it like stimulates your brain to be
one
like,
of them
it's
is
okay.
supposed to cause non-shrinkage, and the other one is your fucking
non-shrinkage. But they're pushing that mental health narrative. They want everybody to be like, oh, I'm gonna come out and admit this. You know, like, I don't know what the fuck a neurodivergent is, but it seems like an excuse for you to just act like a complete and utter fucking twat. It's like, no, you're
everybody's
vaccine
everybody's neurodivergent these days, so that's not the divergence.
Well, how do you not be? That is the way of the universe. Like, you're not a neuro straight away. No, you're divergent. Why? Because your brain path, it splits off and it has different thoughts. It's like, well, no shit.
Well, then I was just watching today, somebody was like, talking about how no one in human history has ever had this level of overload, communication overload, stimulation overload. I mean, you know, the fact that
information warfare.
Yeah, anybody can reach you at any time, all the time. You're expected to be on 24/7, being able to reply to emails and text messages and phone calls all the time because we got this supercomputer in our pocket. And so it's like, of course you're overwhelmed. Like, the human body was not designed for this level of stimulation. Even 20 years ago, the only people who were on call 24/7
are
doctors and like traders, right? Who probably had the bag phone to carry because they had to make trades right away. And they were, you know, if you watch movies of these characters back then in that time frame who were on call 24/7, they were stressed to the max all the time. And it was like painted that this person was on the brink of mental breaking because they were on call all the time. And now everybody is on that level playing.
Yeah, everybody. Like,
and so of course you feel overwhelmed. Of course you're tweaked out of your mind because there's like 1,000 notifications to respond to. And
well, they're even blaming that on the reason why theaters and movies aren't making such amount of money that they used to is because we would rather be on our phone and do other things at the same time as we're watching than to have to sit still in a movie theater to watch.
Yeah, our
Like, yeah.
receptors are fried.
Which is half the time why that just made me put myself in check. Why I would rather text somebody than to take a phone call, because I feel like you're stealing my time, where text I can get back to you when I want to.
Yeah.
Instead of having to sit here and pay you attention.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Pay you attention. Literally paying you with my attention.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awful.
Right. I mean, and it's like, you know, only 20 years ago that when you left the house, you were not able to be contacted until you got back to a home base with a home phone, right? And like you would listen to your voicemails to catch up on who called you, and you know, when you were out and about, you were free. You didn't have people trying to vie for your attention.
No, now we got Life 360, where it notifies other people that you're speeding.
What?
I don't have Life 360.
It's an app that parents install on kids' phones, and I might have to install it on somebody's phone to make sure that they don't get lost.
Isn't it like Gen Z's got the most detached retinas because of their screen time now?
I believe it. I mean, my eyes burn after a long day working on a computer.
Hey, I told at work, you got me 2 hours to look at a computer, and that's my max. And then I'm gonna walk away, and then I'll come back when I can function again. Because you're not killing me.
Well, and
I can't do it.
Your eyes actually stay open longer when you're staring at a screen. If they don't, you don't.
Yeah. And it's bad enough, even like with the research stuff too. It's like, you know, it took me like a month to get all the Esalen stuff together. And it's like, how long was I really on the computer and even my phone? Because I would even have the laptop in my car waiting to pick up my kid, researching and typing stuff up.
Hey, I feel like we've gotten into the weeds a little bit, but you just brought up Esalen.
Oh yeah, let me plug in my dang laptop. But yes,
that one's fresh on your mind, I bet.
I think what happened is when I started looking into everything, it all tied, like all of it goes together. I mean, and all of it is Rogan affiliated, of course. All of it. Sea-Doo, Synanon, Esalen, all of it.
So did Joe Rogan's kids go to Sea-Doo?
Because of Adam Egan. So, you know, he's got the CIA people, he's got mind control people. Adam went to Sea-Doo, so he got put through the mind warp, mind control thing as well. So, I mean, he's probably easily controllable because of it.
Jeremiah was asking if you thought maybe Rogan's kids were Sea-Doo kids.
Well, they shut down Sea-Doo, but they have not shut down these wilderness retreats because, like, my state just had some kid die, and a couple of them because of these retreats. And I feel bad because here we are sending them to these treatment programs where they're just being controlled left and right. It's kind of like a prison.
All right, let's move into Esalen.
So Esalen, this is what I did here because I'm splitting it up into parts because there's so much. Oh, and I was meaning to mention too, okay, like with the Sea-Doo and Synanon. So with Sea-Doo, you get all these unsolved murders and stuff. They actually had one of their doctors in there had an assistant, and they didn't do any like background checks to see if anybody was qualified, because the guy who actually established and opened up Sea-Doo used to work as a volunteer at Synanon. He didn't even have any experience. He just opened it up and was getting money from the state for these so-called troubled teens to bring them in. And he ended up bringing in a pedo serial killer.
Right.
And so that's why they were trying to, like, these 3 kids that they are specifically looking for have never been found.
Well, and he was like known to go to these in-home visits, right, with the doctor, and he would be alone with these kids. This fucking
pedo. Didn't even. didn't notify anybody. They had a record, they didn't check it.
Jesus.
And then even like the guy who established Synanon, he had
have you
gotten
gone
that
over what that is, Synanon? I mean, I know we did CDU, but
Yeah, what's that?
Synanon's like another
cult.
Yeah, but
AA.
Synanon is an acronym for what?
He said that it was by somebody mispronouncing symposium.
Okay, so it's not then. It's not a.
So he didn't really say. That's what his excuse was. But it's like a symposium of Alcoholics Anonymous, and so Synanon got smushed together because he was coming out of he was an addict himself. But he came upon the revelation that he thought he needed to do this because he was part of the LSD research. And the guy who gave him the LSD was actually the guy that they called in as an LSD expert for the Manson trials.
That's not Jolly West, is it?
No, but he's in there too.
Right.
He was right there at the same institute
He
doing
was
the same thing.
Expert in the Patty Hearst, or is that her name? Yeah.
Patty Hearst.
Yeah.
Is it Hearst? I think it was.
I think
so. Like, it's just like you can't. There's no way in hell. Like, we experience coincidence. We experience that, where shit is just coincidental. But these people, there's no way in hell statistically any of this shit of them knowing each other, running with each other, being in these programs. This is not coincidence. These people are set up.
With the Esalen Institute, you've got Alan Watts, Aldous Huxley, Joseph Campbell, and shit. I mean, I used to fall asleep listening to Alan Watts.
Tragic, ain't it? When you think back to it, you're like, God damn.
Aldous Huxley, I mean, and he was Fabian Society with his brother Julian. And I mean, fucking Brave New World, it was like a blueprint.
Huxley is related to Charles Darwin?
I don't know if I did know that, but I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I was like, again, of course, why not? Sure.
Well, in this picture here with Alan Watts, you've got like Tim Leary. Is that Ginsburg there with the long?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Leary, that one's he was honest about being CIA in the '80s. Like he practically bragged about it. Kind of the same thing that Terrence McKenna did.
Yeah, because there wasn't nothing going to happen to them, so why would they care? And if anything, they had so many people that could be like, he's just a burnout. Got holes in his brain from too much LSD.
So
they got too many excuses.
Institute, what's the foundation for the Esalen Institute?
Well, it's kind of like, I'll say Matthew North described it as a bohemian grove with day spas. That's how he described it.
A little more bougie.
Yes, high-end clientele, because if you actually want a room with a bed to yourself, it's $8,000 for 5 days to go there. But they have sleeping bag specials where you can pay like $3,400 to sleep in a sleeping bag on the lawn.
Wow.
Yeah, like this is ridiculous. So what I wanted to do is like, instead of going into like full force, how it's already established and the people that go there, I was like, no, I want to know the two guys who created this, like what put that in their head to even start this thing? Where did they even come from? Who taught them? Where are they getting their thought process and perceptions from? So I wanted to look, who were they in contact with? Who influenced them directly? And then even further, who influenced those people? And it took me back to like 1900 and a direct quote from Aquino.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, when he said that Esalen came from Russians, it hit me right then and there what he was really talking about. And I was like, you know what? No shit. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. Because it goes back to Trotsky.
Yeah, I saw him in there.
Yeah, and Lenin.
So, again, you have Matthew North talking about these people, and then I saw you just mentioned Aquino. I saw in one of those earlier slides that he was pointing out Joe Rogan praising Aquino. When the do you remember that slide?
Oh yeah, where he was when he put it was like some anniversary picture where Aquino's in there with his wife and whoever else that
Yeah, it was an old black and white picture, but
yeah,
he was saying that there was some Rogan praise for one of Aquino's cults or whatever. Because, I mean, he had the thing with that daycare in San Francisco.
right.
Yeah, where it was all this sexual abuse and stuff going on. And anyway, I've heard this guy. I don't know if you know who he is. He's got like a pseudonym, but he goes on to tinfoil hat sometimes. But he like went back into like this program for gifted children. The Aquino.
Yes.
You heard of all that? I don't remember what
Yes.
they were called now, but it seemed like you could just start peeling this stuff back. Like,
Wasn't
where
it like Gate or something like that? Because it's on TikTok now, and the reason why that even came into my head is because they were talking about how they would come in and they would give you hearing tests at school, and they would give you the swish at school, and I was like, wait a minute, I did the swish, and I did have the fucking hearing test at school.
Yeah, I
what are
did
you
both.
talking about?
I was also in the gifted program when I was in 4th grade.
I don't know that I was ever in any gifted program.
It's called Able and Ambitious, A&A, and we got to go on special field trips.
I don't even
Like,
I didn't ask enough questions as a kid to even put it in my head. You know, only thing I know is they kept telling me I daydream too much.
Probably.
wow. And so, what's Rogan's tie to Esalen? Because I saw that was in there.
Oh no, he visits Esalen. He
Visits.
yeah,
So
and he
Institute
will
still-
promote it.
So this Esalen Institute, it's still
Functioning, yeah. Yeah. Yep. You can go there. It's a little retreat. As far as what Rogan says, you know, you can get your drugs there. They will give you drugs. Let you trip there.
Well, yeah, and that was the other thing that I know Matthew North pointed out that I always thought was funny is they'll just sit there, and I think you and I talked about this, Brandy, on the last episode. They'll just open a Ziploc baggie of mushrooms and pass it around. Like when he's got like 3 or 4 guests on, they're like, yeah, we're just going to eat mushrooms, and we're in Austin, Texas.
Go see Bobby Lee. Or not.
We might have ate too many mushrooms.
Yeah, we ate too many mushrooms, dude.
We're gonna get
This
through
sucks.
this.
I'm just getting started.
No, we'll get through this.
We'll be
Don't
alright.
be scared.
Be all right. I think we can drink our way out of this.
You got that right.
I think we definitely can.
It's
When
bodega
Brian
cat.
Simpson was challenging you to a drinking contest, I was scared for him.
Oh
He
my
was trying to
God.
get on
I
the
was trying to
show.
egg him on.
He was.
And he smokes weed in there. Texas doesn't have fucking rec.
Yeah, like
Do
why
they
is it
even-
okay for him to do it?
It's always been okay. I remember him and Ari Shapiro said we're tripping on acid right now while we're doing this podcast. And I'm not saying like he should be scared of the repercussions, but it's kind of weird that he's just so out in the open with it and always has.
right and hasn't gotten fucking rated like anybody else would if they were saying that.
Well, and they're showing it too, like you actually see it.
Yeah, you're condoning the use of a federally like Schedule 1 drug.
Well, even that one clip that North had about Joey Diaz, and they were talking about some guy. It was at wasn't it the Laugh Stop or something like that? How they even named that one guy who was managing over there. He was like, "Oh yeah, he'll get you anything you need." Like they're running drugs and money through there, and you know he was like,
Joey Diaz was saying that.
yeah." And the guy would just give you all kinds of shit.
Yeah, he has some crazy ass stories, that guy. Like, I think he kidnapped somebody once. He's like over a coke deal. He put somebody in his trunk. He's like a felon.
Well, who wasn't it? Bill? Wasn't it? Who just got arrested? It wasn't Bill Barr.
Bill Burr? Is that what
It
you said?
wasn't him. It
A
was
comedian?
It was a comedian that just got arrested. God, but
Sebastian
even
Maniscalco?
nah, he's God. I'm like drawing a blank on these damn dudes. But it was one of the guys who's on with the washcloth guy, which I didn't even understand that situation. I was like, I think these are code words for shit, but this is weird. But no, like, what did you just search?
Oh, comedian arrest.
Man, you know all of them's been arrested once.
Well, there's some old shit coming up. Here's one from 12.
Sean Kingston, huh?
Who?
Sean Kingston.
Who's that?
Arrested for, he was a singer or singer-rapper.
3 days ago.
Arrested after home raid. Huh.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm looking up comedian washcloth. Tom Segura. It was somebody he knows.
Bert Kreischer?
It might have been him.
Really?
Yeah, like that was that washcloth thing. I was like, you know what? There's something weird about that. Like,
this is 3 months ago. It's saying, was he actually arrested? February?
it seemed like yeah. I mean, that's a couple of months. Yeah.
Anyway, what were you saying about that?
No, that I think he was arrested on drugs because even Tom Segura, he tells a story about how they had gotten stopped on his tour bus or something. He had all this weed on the bus, and the driver had to talk to the cops, and he was like, "It doesn't fucking matter, just dump the weed." And like the cops were okay with it. They was like, "All right, just dump the weed." He was like, "Because I can just get more." So it's kind of like they just get a free pass. It's not like he had a joint. It's not like he had an ounce. No, he had enough.
That happened to Ron White. Remember that guy?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God.
He had an airplane, and it was like a little private puddle jumper, and he had a shitload of pot on him. I guess he just constantly smokes wherever he goes, so he was just bringing his stash, and he got feds. Feds came after him.
Well, yeah, and once you start, if you're in a plane and freaking crossing state lines, then you're really gonna be fucked.
Yeah. See, and I mean, that's one of Joe Rogan's like semi-regular guests, and he's not too big to not get fucked with if he's got drugs.
Right, and then Tom Segura had another story about Joey Diaz giving him shit that he didn't even know what it was that he gave him, but it fucked him up so bad that he put him on a plane, and the stewardess was like, "Yo, what's wrong with this dude?" And he was like, "Oh, it was just Ambien." But he drugged the shit out of him. But it didn't matter. They boarded him anyway. Like, if you go to the airport fucked out of your damn mind, are they going to board you or are they going to pull you aside? They're going to question you.
Yeah, you can be hammered at an airport. I attest to that. It's the only way I fly.
Yeah, I don't like flying.
You go through security?
Yeah, you get checked in and then you get fucking shit-faced at the bar before you get on your airplane. And once you're like making your transfers or whatever they call them,
right,
layovers, you just keep drinking. You can drink on the plane. It's a long enough flight. You can get pretty fucking hammered.
That's going to be my downfall because I can't drink, so I'm going to have to take something to knock my ass out because I'm totally not too cool with fucking flying. I just don't like it.
Okay, so this Eslan's basically just a psychedelic retreat that some MK Ultra connections in the beginning. You've got these founders you're talking about, Michael Murphy, Dick Price. And it just ties in back into really everything, that we all talk about here.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to say this because when you even start to touch on this shit, like on Twitter or other public platforms, you get just accused of all these small podcasters just pissed off at these bigger guys. And it's like, hey, I fucking listened to these guys. Like, this wasn't easy for me. Like, and I mean, I'm going to be fine. It's not like I had a lot invested in Joe Rogan and Sam Tripoli, but like part of the discussions we have, part of the reason to do it is to call the bullshit out. And just because it's in, your own house or it's people that they listen to you and they like these guys, it doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it. And
Yeah.
we're all really just, at the end of the day, we're all really just jealous of Joe Rogan and Sam Tripoli. Right, Brandy?
I want to sell my soul to get famous too, right?
Well, now that we're getting there,
Oh, yeah.
so do you want to talk about anything else? Like, what do you think Matthew North was getting too close to, and what is your research? Is there any like dark revelations? Any theories you have?
To me, it seemed like he got too close. Especially, that's why I had included that one clip about Jones being affiliated and definitely employing, I mean, we can call them hookers, call girls, this, that, and the other, but you have the drugs that are being openly brought through and disseminated through these clubs and with these comedians. Alex Jones is no different. And you know what? That would also go back to the whole Bill Hicks things. Because was Alex Jones, was his career based as a comedian?
No.
Or now he just hangs out with
comedians? I know that when he has been with like Eddie Bravo and Tripoli and those guys, he's done sets. But no, he's never really been a comedian. I mean, shit, he goes on these live rants on InfoWars. And he's very comedic. I mean, he's entertaining as hell.
I mean, right, but isn't it weird that his whole company is comedians?
Yeah, and him and Joe Rogan talk about how they've known each other for years,
early 2000s.
And then what was it on when Jones was on Joe Rogan's podcast? He was getting mad at Joe for acting dumb. And acting like he didn't know the stuff that Jones was talking about, because he's playing the dumb schmuck.
Yeah, and like they supposedly had a falling out for years after that show.
Yeah,
and he had said some shit, and it's just like WWE to me. But
right.
he said some shit about how Rogan was given a visit by the Men in Black, and they threatened his kids, and it's like, well, that wouldn't even be necessary if all the stuff we're kind of speculating on is half true.
Yeah, no. So
but
it just seems
it's
weird.
A good story, and it boosts both of them. I mean, it's like Drake and what's his name?
Oh my God!
Kendrick
Right?
Lamar.
Yeah. It just gets them attention, makes them more money, sells more product. Yeah, just exactly. So, like Alex Jones, him supposedly being Bill Hicks, which isn't too far removed because his whole company really never changed. Bill Hicks just moved over to Alex, and now Alex has got the same friends that Bill had. I guess that was in a will somewhere that you inherit my friends. You move over to Austin, and then all of a sudden the comedy scene follows you back over there where, Bill Hicks originated from. You have all these affiliations with MI6, Israel intelligence, all the intelligence agencies, including our own. You have Rogan with the same affiliations. I mean, Sam can deny it all he wants, but I mean, he's got CIA babies around him as well. He's just on the lower rung. He's just the shit flows downhill kind of thing. But you got Jones with the girls. The paid prostitutes, call girls, and then you've got the comedians clubs, and they will tell you, hey, we can get the drugs, we can do this, we can do that. They're all following each other and going around. I think maybe Matthew North kind of figured out that they're trafficking a lot. Like, this isn't just what they're running across. This is kind of their underground business. Like, they could be trafficking a lot more than comedy and conspiracy.
Well, and then you saying all that makes me think about Jones being invited to the Bohemian Grove, even though they all knew who he was. So he was just allowed in there
with a camera.
Yeah,
video camera.
Like,
old school.
Yeah.
You can't hide those fucking things. It's like on his shoulder.
Yeah, and then you got Joe pushing Esalen, which is, you know, they consider the Bohemian Grove of the day spa world. You got the same people visiting. I mean, they even had, was it Yeltsin? Esalen had Boris Yeltsin visit. And they credit them with the end of the Cold War. How the hell, why? That makes zero sense, but they're trying to just tell you, yeah, because they have Russian connects. That's why. And so when I looked back through it and I was getting to the root of who these people knew and who they were influenced by and who they had direct contact with, it all went back to Russia. So Aquino may have been a sick fuck, but that was the truth. He wasn't lying about it. It was true. And for them, they didn't have like 2 or 3 degrees away from MK Ultra. No. Direct contact. When Watts wanted to experiment with some drugs, he called a guy who was a British doctor that was brought into Canada, who was one of the leading men in the MK Ultra project. He called him up. Hey, give me the drugs. Okay, no problem. He also gave it to Aldous Huxley and Cary Grant, which, you know, like, okay.
We talked about that Cary Grant thing in our LSD episode, which we still need to finish.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And how, like, yeah, it was like a new kind of therapy. Kind of what you're seeing pop up everywhere right now with psilocybin. But yeah, he was a heavy promoter of it in that small corner of Hollywood.
Exactly. So he got a bunch of influential people. You get Cary Grant to go back and, you know, say, hey, I'm cool with this. Let's disseminate this. You know, next thing you know, you got Grateful Dead in on it too. So they're passing it along. So it's not like they were 2 or 3 off, like somebody of somebody who knew somebody. No, direct access. Just call them up. Hey, I want this drug. Okay, no problem. Here you go. So Esalen had a direct access point to these drugs and to disseminate these drugs into their population and bring all these people in to speak, because they weren't only influencing the creation of Esalen or even the people who opened it. They actually created some of the programs that Esalen still runs now. And that was their whole premise in starting with these psychologists and psychoanalysts, is they wanted to know what triggers your mind, how does it work, and what influences your brain to specifically think certain things, and how easily would that be controlled. And as even the one doctor who gave the Synanon founder his LSD, when he was called in for a lead expert in Manson's trial, he said that yes, people on LSD are easily influenced, are easily mind controlled when underneath LSD and the effects of it.
Not to mention all the sleep deprivation, amphetamines, and then Carl, when I was talking to him on the last episode, said they were also giving him something, the Manson family, that was like related to gypsum weed, which is like, it's not even a psychedelic, it's like a disassociative. You literally like go into alternate realities in your mind. I mean, I was saying, like, I don't even think that those fuckers were there when all that shit went down. Or maybe that was another thing that was staged altogether. I thought that about Manson lately.
Well, I'm thinking Manson was damn CIA and he just took the fall for the shit.
He was.
Yeah.
And he always talked about how he would never narc. Like, he knew what they did to him, but it was like his code. He would never narc. Or he knew they would just whack him in prison and he'd rather just live in there. I don't know. But
I mean, it's not like he went in there and said that, though. He was like, yeah, your whole fucking life is just controlled. These people, blah, blah, and everybody's like, oh, he's crazy as fuck. Nah, he got fucked by his peers is what happened. They was blaming the murders on him.
So you think they really did it? That the Manson family did it, but it wasn't his orders?
Yeah, it wasn't his orders. It was just like, hey, how easy is it to create these nests of influencers and then to have them think that these murders are part of this anti-culture? Like, if that really would have caught on, how many mass murders would we have really had when you have Woodstock and at these Grateful Dead? Like, if it put you into that realm of thinking, it could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to be something that played out by design. And like you're saying, I mean, I know that like a lot of dark shit happened at some Dead shows and all that stuff, but you didn't see these ritualistic murders like this too often. I think like the things that they sensationalize, to me, have more of a likelihood of being staged, and like the really dark stuff they want to hide, you're never going to hear about it. I mean, especially back then. But
yeah, and like even like the murders, like with them happening, you do have to have a certain. They don't just murder random people as far as sacrifices go. You have to have a criteria. And usually, yeah, you're going to be indoctrinated into the system and be one of them, because otherwise it would be like a mass murder where you have to have 50, just random hobos to equal one elite person. They need that. They need that certain mentality, that person's energy. You need to have that requirement to release that, I would say soul, but it's that energetic release, like that lightning strike. You need to have a person that can create that ripple energetically upon death to enact a change. Which that's more of a magic thing, but they're not just going to murder random people.
No, unless it's like you said, like a mass ritual, like a mass culling of people for a ritual.
Like the Aztec cults.
About Astro World. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That would have been good, yeah. How many was there? Like,
I don't remember, but the one that's even like bigger than that, it was Vegas, the country festival. That one.
Oh yeah.
But the Travis Scott thing, I don't know. I don't know if it was a lot of death. It seemed like a lot of people were trampled. But with the Vegas one, it was like 50 something.
Right.
And that one's weird. How it's not really. It's so recent, and it's not really something we all talk about a lot. But the evidence that's there is overwhelming. Yeah.
John Cullen? I think he calls his channel I Am John Cullen. It's on YouTube. He talks about it.
He does. Yeah, and I mean, I know people do, but like it's like
but it's not a big thing that people really investigate into.
Because it's recent. It's recent, and what little I have just kind of skimmed the surface of the details. It's like, oh, there's so much here that it's like, well, look.
Because I think even Look Out for Charlie, which is one that I watch on YouTube. He goes into like EMF, ULF, the Lily waves and frequencies, and he will pick up recordings and he will pull these things forward, like out of the background noise, to show you that the radio waves that fall through us all are actually talking, like influencing you all day, every day, and there's nothing we can't escape it.
Like the voice of God technology we all talk about.
Yes, like that.
And then the theory of why they banned lead paint is because lead paint actually.
Yeah, because it keeps the frequencies out of your home.
Good thing we
so they can. Yeah. So he had done an analyst of a taxi driver when she was recording all of that going down, because she was like right outside at one of the hotels and it was happening, and you could hear you could hear things in that recording of them describing what was going on. And even like when they said that you could hear the helicopter and stuff, it's like, yeah, you could, but nobody's sitting there saying, hey, there was a helicopter shooting.
Are you talking about Vegas?
Yeah.
So that's
like you could hear all that.
That's kind of the theory, is that who the real bullets are coming from the sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raining from the sky. So yeah, like those. So for Vegas, yeah, like look out for Charlie and I Am John Cullen. Go into it pretty good.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground here today. I mean, we've been talking for like 3 hours, and there's probably like a half hour of just dead air and stuff when we're fucking around looking shit up that might not make it, but it's been a solid episode. I don't know if like, do you feel like there's any loose ends you want to tie up? Like, I feel like we started down several paths, and then you can't just always touch on everything. You kind of hint at.
Oh, I know. It's like you got to
like
do.
We mostly did, to me, but
yeah. One thing that I thought about as when Colby was saying that, you know, he used to listen to Alan Watts, is that Alan Watts almost primed us for the "You will own nothing and be happy."
Ooh.
Right, and God, the other Joseph Campbell. Oh my God, that guy. He's
just like a Carl Jung proponent too, because I mean the mythos and all those, like the hero's journey, all that stuff.
Right.
Prototype.
And his was like, you just fall into the bliss, you know, just be blissed out. Like, really?
Kind of the LSD of the counterculture too, you know, like tune in.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I would trust somebody who's like in there where you have a damn Rockefeller showing up at your funeral.
Who are we talking about? Alan Watts?
Joseph Campbell.
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
So you're telling us to take the what's the pill that you take in Breaking World? Yeah, Soma.
Yeah. And it's also all financed by the Mellon family. So they're in it too.
Remind me who they are.
The Mellon family. You know Christopher Mellon, who's in the fucking alien UFO bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got his cousin John Warner, who's saying that, you know, Chris Mellon's full of shit. Well, John Warner's a Mellon as well. So it's their money that was financing these people at Esalen.
Okay. So it all ties back into your favorite topic, the alien thing.
Well, if the aliens did it, then you can't blame yourself, right? You can always blame the man hiding in your closet or, you know, grabbing your ankle in the middle of the night under your bed.
Would you say that your favorite topic is still that?
Oh, I hate UFO shit.
No, but you love it though.
I mean, it's just because
you love calling it out, I should say.
I do love calling it out because I'm sorry that you feel so alone in the universe that you can't just fucking stand in yourself and say, I am all I fucking need. I am in charge of myself. I can pull myself out of this shit. I'm sorry that you don't have that in yourself, that you have to cling on to a reptile, a figment of your fucking imagination, and think that it's going to come save you to do a damn thing.
Well, and we have to bring Rogan up again, because it's like one of his main missions at this point is to get these intelligence people who are talking about aliens and UAPs. That's one of the biggest platforms those people have. And I mean, like, Bob Lazar is just the tip of the iceberg for me. As soon as I listen to that episode, and I think he had him on twice, I won't listen to any of that other shit now. It infuriates me, and like I don't know. Because I can handle some propaganda, but that shit, and like how mainstream it's becoming, and there's congressional hearings about it now.
It like physically repulses you.
It's just, well, I don't mind that they're doing it. I mind how easily they sell it. That's what pisses me off.
It's easy, but that was the thing too. It's like you have these fucking UFO alien people, and on one side they're like, oh my God, the CIA is such corrupt bullshit. We are so against the system. But are you? You're sitting there licking Elizondo's butthole. And if it isn't his, it's Grosh. And then if it isn't his, it's Mellon. And if it isn't his, you've got a litany of people who all are affiliated.
Our audience might know about some of those names. I don't. Because of you, I do. But like Stephen Greer's the big one for me, because he's like getting Demi Lovato and all these people to go meditate and summon aliens in the desert.
Well, you know, he is on the alien tender list, so he's swiping right on all of them. Like, yeah, come get me.
These the Bledsoe said so people.
Oh, he's full of shit too.
Well, he has a huge presence on Tinfoil Hat, but this guy's dad like has this fantastic. Have you heard of him? No. So his dad was hunting and he disappeared for several hours, and then when they found him, he had been like taken by aliens, and he can summon them, and he's been on the History Channel now. Like, they have a show about it.
Because the History Channel solidifies the truth, right?
They do. I mean, they ancient aliens and shit. But anyway, this guy, his son, has a podcast, and he like peddles this shit. And Bledsoe said so.
Yeah.
I think it's all pretty funny, but I don't want to listen to 3 hours of some fucking army intelligence guy on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's just like, I'd rather listen to Terrence Howard at that point. But
I've invented a new form of flight. Tangential flight, the ability to fly around your own center of mass, something they've never been able to do. And you don't hear anything about it. And it's unlimited bonding. If you can go to...
I'll listen to damn static. I will listen to 3 hours of commercials back to back before I can stomach that shit.
well, you know, you got to know all the angles of your enemies.
I know. I hate it too, man. You do. It's a daunting task being, you know.
I wonder who Joe Rogan had on this week. I'm going to have to check it out.
It must have not been too controversial.
I think he's taking a break after the Terrence Howard thing from like those kind of guests. It's like he spaces them out. You have Cat Williams, and then he had on Terrence Howard, and they're basically the same type of interview. I did listen to the entire Tucker Carlson one, and they said some bullshit in there. It's great. I mean, they called Alex Jones a prophet. Tucker Carlson believes Alex Jones is a prophet because he said in July of 2001 that 9/11 would happen, but fucking Bill Cooper said it in June and got killed in his front yard less than a year later. But,
well, if Alex Jones sells juice on his website, don't buy the juice. Don't buy the juice.
It comes in a big red, like the picture of the big red man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, I don't know where else to go. You have anything else you want to wrap up with? Either of you.
No. I made sure, like, everything I ever looked at, even if I didn't include it in any of those articles, or even if I didn't like bring it up to address it, like I listed every website I ever visited going along all that research. So
that would be dangerous.
I tried to
if I did that.
List all the web. No,
Like,
no, not those.
How did that get in his research? So, well, yeah, you've got great. I'm gonna link your ORI if that's all right in the show notes of this, because you're finally like actually putting your work on a place where everything's all backed up and everything. I think that's awesome. You have your art on there too.
I do.
All right, Brandy, thank you so much for joining us. Appearance number 3, and it sounds like Jeremiah is interested in having you back for at least another one.
Yeah.
And talk about some mind control. Well, yeah, you plugged. Well, I plugged ORI for you, but why don't you do it more professionally and anything else?
It's at the Occult Research Institute. I'm under the art tab, the symbolism tab, and the mind manipulation I'm on 3 articles under mind manipulation, 1 under the symbolism, and the art is just. I really need to organize it. I haven't done it. I'm a procrastinator and a slacker.
Right.
Outside of that, I just have Twitter. I do have TikTok. I don't post on there a lot, but I do have it. Both of them are at AKA_ Brandy Renee. But that's all I have right there. It's those 3.
Plenty of material for you to get lost in, ladies and gentlemen. Brandy's done great research. She actually looks into the things that a lot of us just kind of talk about, and sources it. So it's good to have that. Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremiah is to my right, if you haven't noticed by now, and I think that he's less busy than I am these days, probably about the same.
Yeah, somewhere.
But yeah, we're gonna start doing stuff together again, and maybe even some deep dives around the corner. I think we got something coming up Wednesday. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And until then, we love you. Stay sane. Awesome.
I believe it to be. I could either drown or pull off my skin and swim to shore. Now I can grow a beautiful shell for all to see. The river of deceit flows down. Yeah, the only direction we flow is down. Down, oh down. Down, oh down. Down, oh down. Down, oh down. The pain is self-chosen. Yeah, our pain is self-chosen. Down, oh down. Down, oh down. Down, oh down.
I definitely needed to take off for brain today. I want to say Sanjay Gupta, but that was the guy that was on CNN.
Isn't he dead though?
No, is he?